Chapter 587. The Martial Arts Conference had begun. Everyone's eyes flickered and their minds were in turmoil. The moment the spatial door opened, they rushed over. "Humph! Get out of my way!" At this moment, a tyrannical roar sounded. A body that resembled a human-shaped Tyrannosaurus rushed past everyone and flew towards the spatial door. Seeing this, everyone was furious. Just as they were about to speak, they recognized who this person was in the next moment and their faces turned pale. "Isn't this person the Tyrannosaurus King Hong Wei, ranked 56th on the Spirit Leaderboard? I didn't expect him to be here too." At this moment, just as everyone was exclaiming in surprise, another white figure also entered the spatial door like a ghost. 62nd on the Spirit Leaderboard by M.O. Everyone turned to look, and they were instantly shocked. In the next moment, another person walked into the spatial door with a long saber in hand and a cold expression. 74th on the Spirit Leaderboard, Chaotic Saber Demon. I didn't expect so many top 100 experts to appear at the beginning of the martial arts conference. These people were not famous before. I didn't expect them to appear at the beginning of the martial arts conference. In comparison, Tianyang, who was in the limelight previously, doesn't seem to be much. 89th on the Spirit Leaderboard is indeed not bad. However, compared to these people, he's still lacking a lot. Someone sighed. Hearing this, the faces of the Stars Swordplay sect members turned ugly. What does Big Brother Tianyang have to do with these people? Limelight? If it weren't for the shameless guards at the city gate, what limelight would Big Brother Tianyang have? Sun Xing was furious. Hearing this, Tianyang's expression was indifferent and his mood was calm. It's fine. Things like strength don't rely on words. It can only be obtained through real battles. Let's go in now, Tianyang said. Hearing this, everyone nodded and stepped into the spatial door. Streaks of light radiated from the people of the Stars Swordplay sect, connecting them together. Then, the light of the teleportation formation flashed, and they all disappeared into the spatial gate. In the earthly Emperor's small world, rays of silver light flashed and Tianyang's group appeared on a wasteland at the same time. They actually didn't get separated? Tianyang was a little surprised. Logically speaking, such a large-scale teleportation formation should not be able to accurately teleport every team together. However, when Tianyang saw the Stars Swordsmanship Sect certificate that automatically appeared in his hand, he immediately understood. Previously, when he sensed the appearance of this proof, he thought that something had happened. It turned out that it was used to connect them together so that they would not be teleported away. This is the earthly sovereign's small world. The spiritual chi of heaven and earth has not changed, although it is still as dense as before. Tianyang looked around. It was said that the earthly Emperor's small world was a small world that had existed since ancient times. There were various kinds of ancient ferocious beasts and opportunities. Now that he looked at it, it didn't seem like anything. At this moment, another silver light flashed from the side. A few more people came to the wasteland where Tianyang's group was. The two teams bumped into each other. It's the Stars Swordplay sect. Tianyang is here. It's not good to provoke him. Let's go first. The team exchanged glances with Tianyang's group, then shook their heads and left. Now that the earthly Emperor's small world had just opened, there was not a single person who needed to collect the azure crystals. The two teams did not have any interest in each other, so naturally, they would not act rashly. However, Tianyang also felt a trace of hostility from the team. After all, from the beginning of the martial arts conference, all the teams were potential enemies. Ignore them. We will explore ourselves, Tianyang muttered to himself. At this moment, the team came a few miles away and suddenly stopped. This is azure crystals. And it's a huge pile of azure crystal ores. A cry of surprise sounded. Tianyang's expression changed slightly as he looked over. It was the team from before. At this moment, they had stopped in the air above a swamp, looking at the center of the swamp in shock. The dark blue ores scattered in the swamp, especially in the center of the swamp, were the azure crystals they were looking for. These azure crystal ores were still very crude, but as long as they were slightly refined with true essence, they would become azure crystals that could be used to calculate points. Captain, you guys go and guard against the Stars swordplay sect. We will go and mine first. At this moment, a youth in the team transmitted a message to the others. Hearing this, the others nodded. Azure crystals could not only be used as points, but could also be used for cultivation when they went out. The energy contained within the azure crystals could not be directly absorbed, but it could catalyze the absorption of Reiki, and even increase the speed of one's absorption of heaven and earth spirit chi. Such a treasure, even if the martial arts conference did not exist, would cause others to be wary. Moreover, they were in the middle of the martial arts conference. And the person who seemed to be the captain nodded and released his Zhen, Yuan, at the peak of the 3rd level of Sea of Soul Realm. He looked at Sky's son with fear. Brother Tianyang, do you want to snatch it? At this moment, Sun Xing was eager to give it a try. Hearing this, Tianyang's expression did not change. Using his soul power, he chuckled, "Let's watch first." At this moment, the youth had already collected a few pieces of azure crystal ores. If they were refined, they would be dozens of standard azure crystals. I didn't expect our luck to be so good, the youth said excitedly. Hearing this, the captain nodded. At this moment, an unforeseen event occurred. Hiss! A sharp hissing sound came from the swamp, and in the next moment, a yellow python with 8 heads rushed out of the swamp. Ah! Seeing this, the youth's expression changed greatly. At this moment, the 8-headed python suddenly erupted with the aura of a rank 5 demonic beast, not inferior to a Sea of Soul Realm cultivator. It firmly locked the youth in place. In the next moment, the python's mouth in the middle suddenly opened wide. Gulp! The young man was instantly devoured by the 8 giant pythons. Xiao Zhuang! Seeing this scene, the captain's eyes were about to split open, and he charged towards the 8-headed python. "How dare you eat my brother? Bastard, you're courting death!" The captain roared, pulled out a long spear, and charged towards the 8-headed python. Hiss! The 8-headed python hissed and spat out its tongue, which had a strong stench, and charged towards the captain. The captain's expression changed greatly. He waved his long spear, wanting to block this attack. However, he was caught by the python's tongue and was swallowed into the python's stomach. All of this happened too quickly. It happened in a few seconds. Even Tianyang could not react in time. At this moment, Tianyang's eyes were burning as he looked at the 8-headed python. Chapter 588. Orochi Desolate Snake. Tianyang's eyes shone as he looked at the 8-headed snake in front of him. His heart was slightly shaken as he exclaimed. The Orochi Desolate Snake was a fierce beast from ancient times. It had already gone extinct in the ancient times, which was the era of Emperor Taishu. Even Tianyang had only seen a few skeletons. Who would have thought that he would actually see a living Orochi Desolate Snake in this earthly emperor's small world? In ancient times, the environment was harsh, and the strong preyed on the weak. This Orochi Desolate Snake was also abnormally powerful. Looking at it, this Orochi Desolate Snake seems to be a purebred bloodline. In other words, this guy is very powerful. Tianyang's expression turned serious. At this moment, the Orochi Desolate Snake seemed to have sensed Tianyang's group. It actually gave up on the few peak half-step Sea of Soul Realm experts and charged towards them. This Orochi Desolate Snake was not stupid. If it did not kill Tianyang's group first, then it was very likely that Tianyang would reap the benefits. This beast is really not stupid. Seeing this, Tianyang smiled faintly. A black light flashed in his hand and the Styx sword appeared. However, a beast will always be a beast. It knows how to differentiate between friend and foe. Unfortunately, it doesn't know how to compare strength. Styx sword technique Third style, River of Forgetfulness. Tianyang snorted coldly. In the next moment, endless underworld power erupted from the real dragon pellet. It carried rolling underworld death chi as it slashed towards the Orochi desolate snake. With one slash, the surroundings were destroyed. An extremely dark sword light shot out from Tianyang's stick sword as if it came from hell. The rolling underworld death chi directly caused the Orochi desolate snake's head to change greatly. This sword strike had actually made it, an ancient remnant, feel the danger of death. Hiss hiss hiss. The Orochi desolate serpent hissed. In the next moment, a thick earthen yellow pillar of light shot out from the mouths of its 8 heads, converging into an incomparably tyrannical pillar of light that fiercely shot towards the sword. Boom! The beam of light of Orochi and the sword of River of Forgetfulness collided fiercely, causing the space to tremble. However, even the all-out attack of Orochi did not have any effect. The Forgetfulness River Sword, with an unstoppable momentum, easily pierced through this attack that was almost at the 4th level of Sea of Soul Realm, and madly charged towards the 8-headed Earth Snake. Hiss! The 8-headed Earth Serpent hissed crazily. Its body kept twisting as it tried to dodge the sword. However, it had already been imprisoned on the spot by the Nether Death Chi. With its huge body, no matter how it twisted, it would not be able to dodge this sword. Rip! A beam of crimson light shot out and blood spurted out. The Orochi desolate Earth Snake had 3 of its heads severed by Tianyang's sword. Hiss! The Orochi desolate Earth Snake went crazy. Its eyes were filled with a dense blood-red color. Its muddy yellow body instantly turned blood-red. In the next moment, the remaining 5 snake heads bared their ferocious fangs and charged towards Tianyang. The poisonous fangs of the Orochi desolate Earth Snake are said to be able to poison a Spirit King expert to death. However, no matter how strong the poison is, it has to hit first. Looking at those ferocious fangs, Tianyang chuckled. The Styx River sword in his hand swung out 2 beams of sword light in succession. Boom! Boom! The Orochi desolate Earth Snake had almost no strength to resist. 2 more snake heads were cut off by Tianyang. The remaining 3 snake heads were also affected by Tianyang's sword and spurted out turbid blood arrows. Hiss! Now the Orochi desolate Earth Snake finally realized that Tianyang was no match for it. After hissing, it directly circulated its true essence. The blood it spurted out ignited with a strange flame and rushed towards the distance. Obviously, the Orochi desolate Earth Snake wanted to escape. The true essence burned, the blood burned, and coupled with the powerful strength of the Orochi desolate Earth Snake, in an instant, the Orochi desolate Earth Snake turned into a beam of light and arrived a few miles away. A rank 5 magical beast was already extremely fast, not to mention a rank 5 ancient beast. Want to escape? Seeing this, Tianyang's lips curled into a slight smile. Can you escape? In the next moment, Tianyang used the void stepping secret technique. His figure instantly disappeared from the spot. A speed that was even faster than a Spirit King expert exploded in an instant. The air exploded. Tianyang had just started, but he had already surpassed the speed of sound. In the blink of an eye, Tianyang had arrived beside the Orochi desolate Earth Snake. Hiss hiss hiss! Seeing Tianyang arrive, the Orochi desolate Earth Snake immediately trembled. The remaining 3 snake heads kept shaking, and there was a trace of fear in its eyes. You want to submit to me? Tianyang was proficient in the languages of the Sky Continent. Naturally, he could tell the meaning of the Orochi desolate Earth Snake's actions. However, although he could tell, Tianyang had no intention of agreeing. If you hadn't eaten people, I might have agreed. But now, even if I take your soul imprint, I'm afraid I won't be able to sleep well. Tianyang shook his head. The Styx sword in his hand shone with a cold light. Billowing murderous intent exploded. Upon seeing this, the Orochi Desolation Serpent was infuriated. It opened its mouth wide and fired 6 poisonous fangs at once. You want to show off your slight skill in front of me? Tianyang chuckled. His soul power moved and blocked the fast fangs in front of him. Then, he flicked his finger. The 6 fangs pierced into the Orochi desolate earth snake scales. Tianyang shook his finger. True Yuan surged and the Orochi desolate earth snake's body exploded into pieces. Rank 5 demonic beast, an ancient species, the infamous Orochi desolate earth snake of the ancient times, turned into a cloud of blood in the sky just like that. What a pity! If it was given to a mortal to eat, they could directly become a body refinement realm cultivator. Tianyang shook his head. It was a pity. The meat of the Orochi desolate earth snake was very nutritious. However, it didn't taste good. Tianyang didn't care. At this moment, 2 figures flew out from the cloud of blood. They were battered and exhausted. They were the team leader from before and the young man who collected the heavenly blue crystal ores. Thank you for saving us. I'm very grateful. If I meet you in the future, I'll definitely repay your kindness. The team leader flew out and cupped his fists at Tianyang. The robe on his body had been corroded by the Orochi desolate earth snake's acid and was tattered. He looked extremely battered and exhausted. As for the person who was swallowed first, even his muscles were corroded and his bones could be seen. From the looks of it, he looked extremely miserable. Seeing this, Tianyang raised his eyebrows slightly. My brother is seriously injured and urgently needs medical attention. We'll leave first, the team leader said. Then, he circulated his true yuan and rushed in the direction he came from. At this moment, Tianyang chuckled and extended his hand. His true yuan condensed and blocked their path. Don't be in such a hurry to leave. Chapter 589. The Azure Crystal in the Orochi Snake's Body? Hearing this, the team leader stopped in his tracks. His expression changed slightly, but he quickly covered it up. What are you talking about? How come I don't know about this? In the Orochi Snake's body, there's nothing but acid. There's no azure crystal. Your Excellency Tianyang, although you're powerful, you can't extort people like this, the team leader said. Hearing this, Tianyang smiled faintly. Do you want me to snatch the azure crystal that's still stained with acid from your sleeve, or do you want to give it to me yourself? Hearing this, the team leader's expression changed drastically. His gaze turned cold. Your Excellency Tianyang, it wasn't easy for us to find it in the Orochi snake's stomach. Where it's possible to let people off, we've paid such a huge price to get a little azure crystal. Can't we? The team leader said coldly. Hearing this, Tianyang's expression didn't change. Instead, he smiled faintly. At this moment, the young man beside the team leader suddenly changed from his sickly appearance to that of extreme anger. Team leader, why are you talking to this kind of person? Just now, when this guy was dealing with the Orochi snake, it was so easy. But now, when the 2 of us were eaten, he didn't even react. In my opinion, this guy is trying to steal our heavenly cyan crystal ore, the young man said angrily. Hearing this, Tianyang's expression didn't change. He didn't show any anger. Instead, the smile on his face deepened. Clap clap. Tianyang clapped his hands twice and chuckled. Both of your acting skills are really not bad. However, since you're here, come out. Tianyang smiled faintly. In the next moment, a surge of true yuan exploded and swept in all directions. In the next moment, everyone from the previous team was forced out from all corners. Their expressions were dark as they glared at Tianyang. Tianyang, you asked for it. If you want to give me this Orochi desolate snake, then just give it to me. Why must you be so unforgiving? At this moment, the captain tore off his hypocritical mask and sneered. Now, our companions have all come out. Even if you're ranked 89th on the spirit ranking, you will still fall here. 2 fists are no match for 4 hands. When the time comes, I'll see how you die. The captain sneered. Hearing this, Tianyang suddenly raised his head and laughed loudly. That's right, that's right. I saved you out of kindness, but you repaid my kindness with enmity. I'm just taking back my spoils of war. Since that's the case, I'll take the azure crystal in your hands as well." Tianyang chuckled. Hearing this, the team leader's face sank. His face turned ferocious as he shouted angrily, "Shameless boasting! Everyone, attack together! I don't believe that this fellow still has the strength to deal with us after killing the Orochi desolate snake." The team leader roared angrily. In the next moment, he directly took off his tattered robe, revealing his close-fitting battle armor. True essence condensed on his fist as he charged towards Tianyang. "Die for me. Low-grade Earth Tier martial skill, Bull Fist." The team leader roared. Peak 3rd level C of Soul Realm's true essence erupted from his body, transforming into a huge bull phantom that charged towards Tianyang. A bull possessed enormous strength. The strength of this bull fist couldn't be underestimated. At this moment, the 8 team members beside him also made their moves, condensing one tyrannical attack after another as they charged towards Tianyang. Mystic Tier martial skill, Mountain Collapsing Palm. Low-grade Earth Tier martial skill, Mountain River Seal. Middle-grade Earth Tier martial skill, Burning Mountain Boiling Sea Fist. Everyone roared as their true essence erupted, condensing one tyrannical attack after another. Even the youth who seemed to be heavily injured earlier condensed a terrifying attack at this moment, ruthlessly charging towards Tianyang. For a moment, Tianyang fell into a desperate situation where he was besieged by 9 people. Sky Continent, no matter what era it is, it's always like this." Tianyang suddenly smiled, and his gaze abruptly turned cold. Previously, he was merely being kind. Now, since this group of people repaid kindness with enmity, then he wouldn't continue to be a saint. The Styx sword in his hand flashed with light. Sky Extreme Sword Art, First Sword, Soaring Heaven. Tianyang roared as countless true essence condensed within his boundless spirit sea, exploding and transforming into an extremely swift and fierce sword light that slashed towards these attacks. Stubborn resistance. The team leader sneered disdainfully. 89th on the spirit roll, trampling on General Hu? In his opinion, he definitely used some method. The current Tianyang had used up quite a bit of true essence just to kill the 8-headed earth serpent. How could he possibly have spare energy to deal with them? The team leader's train of thought was indeed not bad if placed on an ordinary person. Unfortunately, he didn't know. Tianyang was a freak who possessed a boundless spirit sea. Boom, boom, boom. Soaring Heaven's sword light crazily swept out. Rolling sword chi erupted, directly engulfing those sword moves, and even counterattacking. Even the team leader who shouted the most fiercely previously had a deathly pale complexion at this moment, looking at Tianyang in disbelief. Wasn't Tianyang a 3rd-level spirit sea realm? Why did he still have spare energy to deal with them after killing that tyrannical rank 5 magical beast? Could it be that Tianyang's true essence was inexhaustible? However, at this time, Tianyang brandished his sword once again. Sky Extreme Sword Art, Second Sword, Sky Splitter. Tianyang brandished his sword once again. Annihilating heavenly flames ignited, and the power of the sun was added to the sword, completely destroying everyone's attacks together. And this sword burning with annihilating heavenly flames charged towards the team leader without hesitation. Damn it! Jianglu, I've nurtured you for so many years. It's time for you to be put to use. The team leader's expression was sinister. Looking at this unstoppable sword, he suddenly roared. In the next moment, his palm pulled to the side, and the heavily injured youth was pulled in front of him. Leader Yu, the heavily injured youth's expression changed greatly. Just as he was about to escape, the Sky Splitter sword had already torn his body apart. Fresh blood spurted out wildly. You actually used your own teammate to block a blade for you. You're really a scumbag, Tianyang said coldly. Hearing this, the team leader laughed sinisterly. As long as I can survive, who can't be sacrificed? Tianyang. Don't think that you've won. After I get out, I'll immediately spread the news of you having a sea of azure crystals to the entire earthly Emperor small world. At that time, I won't have to do anything and you'll die." The team leader laughed wildly. In the next moment, a talisman suddenly appeared in his hand. It looked like it had been burning for some time. Seeing this, Tianyang's pupils shrank. This talisman, it was the 1,000 miles godly travel talisman. At this moment, the team leader spat out a mouthful of blood, which landed on the 1,000 miles godly travel talisman. "Ha! Tianyang, wait for the entire earthly Emperor small world's geniuses to hunt you down. We'll never meet again." The team leader laughed wildly. In the next moment, his body turned into a stream of light and rushed to the side. At this moment, Tianyang smiled faintly. With a wave of his hand, the entire space was sealed. The squad leader also crashed headfirst into the spatial barrier. "Before I reached the Sea of Soul Realm, I really couldn't deal with this thing. But now that I've reached the Sea of Soul Realm, you're using a defective product that was completely destroyed by Reverend Ironbone. If I can't stop you, then my reputation will be in vain." Tianyang chuckled. At this moment, the team leader's face turned pale. "Big brother Tianyang. Master. Don't kill me, I have the map of the earthly Emperor's small world. If you don't kill me, I can give it. Even if I kill you, I'll still have it." Tianyang slashed out with his sword and directly killed the team leader. After that, Tianyang executed a few more sword moves and killed all the remaining members of the team who were trying to escape. In this wasteland, blood was spurting wildly. Tianyang had always had the habit of cutting the weeds and eliminating the root. "The map of the earthly Emperor's small world? If you have it, then it's quite interesting." Tianyang chuckled. He stretched out his hand and summoned the team leader's space bag. Chapter 590. "This guy is still playing tricks on me even when he's about to die." Tianyang opened the space bag of the squad leader with a cold face. He had just searched through the space bag. Map? There was nothing. The squad leader was obviously using the name of the map of the earthly Emperor's small world to buy some time and then wait for an opportunity to escape. Tianyang clearly saw that there was not much in the space bag, but there was a large pile of 1,000 miles godly walking talismans. That said, that guy's death could be said to be well-deserved. Tianyang sneered and put away the space bag of the squad leader. Speaking of space bags, Tianyang's space bag was already filled with the space bags of quite a few people. It was just that he did not count them at the moment. If he did, perhaps the wealth would be enough to shock the entire central region. After all, the people Tianyang killed were either the genius disciples of the big forces or the real experts of the big forces, such as Yuan Kai and Venerable Ironbone. If the wealth of these people was added up, it would be comparable to the wealth of a country. However, Tianyang did not care about it. For him, it was fine as long as there were resources to use. He did not care about how many there were. "Master, what's wrong?" At this time, the people of the Stars Swordplay sect who had sensed that something was wrong finally arrived. Looking at the blood around them and the fluctuating aura on Tianyang's body, Ling Yuhan's face suddenly turned pale. Obviously, there had been a great battle just now. Moreover, those who had said that they were going to support Tianyang were nowhere to be seen. Perhaps it was the pool of blood under their feet. "It's nothing. It's just an ordinary case of biting the hand that feeds you." Tianyang waved his hand. He was already used to such things. For the sake of treasures and opportunities, not to mention a savior he didn't know, he would even kill his life brothers, wives, and children of decades of life and death. Tianyang had seen and killed a lot of people like that. "I see. To think that they said they were coming to support Master. We didn't stop them when we saw how anxious they were. I didn't expect them to be this kind of people." Hearing this, Ling Yuhan immediately shouted angrily. Hearing this, Tianyang shrugged his shoulders. He was naturally aware of this point. For someone who could do such a thing, disguise was a compulsory course. However, Master is still the strongest. Even with so many people surrounding him, he still managed to kill them all. Ling Yuhan's expression suddenly changed and she giggled. Hearing this, Tianyang shook his head and took out all the heaven azure crystals. The heavenly flame of annihilation burned fiercely, burning the impurities, soil, and stones on the ores into ashes. All that was left was the azurite crystal, which was shining with a deep blue light. The heavenly cyan crystal can be divided into dozens of ordinary heavenly cyan crystals. Moreover, the heavenly cyan crystal obtained from the Orochi Desolate Snake is even bigger. Tianyang then took out the heavenly cyan crystal he obtained from the Orochi Desolate Snake. Using the heavenly flame of annihilation, he burned the acid on it into ashes. Under the illumination of the sun, the pure azure crystal shone with a deep blue light that made one feel relaxed and happy. Just by holding it in his hand, Tianyang could feel that the surrounding spiritual energy of heaven and earth had become a little faster. The heavenly cyan crystal is indeed a treasure that countless sects and forces dream of. Tianyang praised. At this moment, Ling Yuhan chuckled and took out a large piece of heavenly cyan crystal from her back. This was extracted from a large piece of heavenly cyan crystal ore that they found. They haven't finished mining it yet, so we took it ourselves. In total, there are about 600 to 700 pieces. Together with the one in your hand, it should be over 1,000. Ling Yuhan smiled. Hearing this, Tianyang's expression changed slightly and he took it. Then, he kept it in the proof that it belonged to the Star's Swordplay sect. In the next moment, a ray of light shot out from the proof and turned into a huge screen. On the screen, the names of various forces were listed in order. At the top, the light suddenly flashed. In the next moment, the third position suddenly changed owners. The Star's Swordplay sect obtained 1024 pieces of heavenly cyan crystal. Above the Star's Swordplay sect were the Martial Arts Holy Land, the Scarlet Flame sect, and the newly risen Sun Moon sect. Even the difference between these two forces and Tianyang's group was only a few dozen pieces. It could be said that as long as they killed a few beasts, Tianyang's group could easily surpass them and become first place. Ah, we are third. At this moment, Sun Xing laughed loudly and his face was filled with excitement. The Martial Arts Conference was a grand event in the central region. The Star's Swordplay sect was only a third-rate force, but they could obtain such a ranking in the Martial Arts Conference. It had to be said that luck and strength were indispensable. After all, from the beginning until now, not even 15 minutes had passed. Now, let's take a look at the individual ranking. Tianyang did not care much. Third place was only for them now. Their goal was to be first. First place in the Martial Arts Conference, first place among the countless forces in the central region. As Tianyang's voice fell, the list on the screen instantly distorted. Then, the individual ranking appeared on it. Second place, Scarlet Demon King, 327 pieces of heavenly cyan crystal. Third place, Tyrannosaurus King, 326 pieces of heavenly cyan crystal. Fourth place, Flame Monarch King, Jun Aoyang, 298 pieces of heavenly cyan crystal. Fifth place, Charming Snake, 276 pieces of heavenly cyan crystal. Sixth place, Ao Xiang, 271 pieces of heavenly cyan crystal. One by one, the names of the prodigies appeared on the screen. Seeing this, the crowd could not help but gasp. These people were actually so powerful. The individual ranking was based on pure combat strength. Only those that were snatched from enemies or killed by beasts would be recorded. In other words, the heavenly cyan crystal that Ling Yuhan and the rest had mined could only be counted on the sect ranking, and could not be counted on a single person. However, these people were still able to obtain so many heavenly cyan crystals. From this, one could see how powerful they were. Jun Aoyang is actually in fourth place? It seems like the Sun Moon sect has paid quite a bit in this month. Tianyang laughed lightly. Jun Aoyang had just reached the peak of the first level of the Sea of Soul realm a while ago. However, it was impossible for a peak first-level Sea of Soul realm to reach such a level. The strongest person on the list, Scarlet Demon King, was able to surpass the Tyrannosaurus King. Thus, his battle strength was at least in the top 50 of the spirit ranking. As for Jun Aoyang, he was only second to the Tyrannosaurus King and Scarlet Demon King. His strength was at least in the top 100 of the spirit ranking. Even Tianyang was a little surprised by the sudden jump of so much. But why is it starting from second place? At this moment, Ling Yuhan was startled as she discovered some clues. At this moment, Tianyang laughed lightly. Because I haven't entered my name. In the next moment, Tianyang lightly tapped. A great name instantly appeared above Scarlet Demon King. Chapter 591. First place, Sword King Tianyang, 428 pieces of azure crystals. Looking at the line of words that suddenly appeared, all the people of Star's swordplay sect were dumbfounded. Although they had guessed a few possibilities when they saw the terrifying ranking of Star's swordplay sect, they did not expect Tianyang to be so powerful. He had crushed Flame Monarch King, Tyrannosaurus King, and King Chi Yao. He had trampled over countless geniuses to become first place. Sword King. Master is quite nostalgic. Ling Yuhan noticed the two words, Sword King, in front of Tianyang's name. This was the main reason why there was an option to enter his name. Sword King represented Tianyang's unparalleled swordsmanship. Tianyang had shocked the entire Firmament territory when he entered Night Dome City and was given the title of Sword King. Now that Tianyang had entered the Earthly Emperor Small World, he was naturally stronger. I just thought of it by chance. Such a name will probably attract some people to find trouble with me. Tianyang smiled. Ling Yuhan was speechless when she heard this. Other people added a title in front of their names to show that they were awesome. However, Tianyang used this title to attract hatred. However, the title of Sword King was indeed domineering. The effect of attracting hatred was also very powerful. How many swordsmen were there in the world? The people in the Earthly Emperor Small World were all geniuses and swordsmen of their own forces. Naturally, they would not be willing to be suppressed by Tianyang. The title of Sword King was destined to bring Tianyang endless trouble. However, Tianyang did not care. After all, other than King Chi Yao and a few others, the rest of the people in the Earthly Emperor Small World were just temporary storage bags of azure crystals. First place, Sword King Tianyang? In a forest, a red demonic beast with claws like a giant wolf and stripes like a leopard said coldly. In the next moment, he circulated his true origin energy and transformed into a human. He was King Chi Yao, who was currently ranked second. This Sword King Tianyang is probably the one in the Earthly Imperial City. His strength is not bad. The reason why he can get first place now is probably because some idiots sent themselves to his doorstep. Sword King? Heh. With this name, there's no need for the demon race to do anything. Just you humans alone can kill you. King Chi Yao sneered. The huge snake beside him also reverted to human form when she heard that. A cold light flashed through her enchanting face. Then, she smiled sweetly and said, So, are we going to hunt down human geniuses or deal with Sword King Tianyang? According to the original plan, if Tianyang can still maintain first place in 3 days, then it won't be too late to consider it. King Chi Yao spoke indifferently. Then, he transformed into a great demon once more and charged forward. Brother Tianyang, you've gone too far this time. Not everyone can be called Sword King. At this moment, in a cave, Jun Aoyang looked at the screen in front of him and broke out in cold sweat. Sword cultivators had the strongest determination and drive among all cultivators. Such a sword cultivator naturally wouldn't let a nobody like Tianyang suddenly jump on his head. Which one of the Sword Kings in the past wasn't extremely powerful in sword cultivation? Although Tianyang was powerful, the others didn't know about it. But I'd better think about myself first. Jun Aoyang laughed bitterly, then looked at his feet. This cave was on top of a huge old turtle. At this moment, the old turtle was resting with its eyes closed. However, Jun Aoyang didn't doubt that the old turtle would wake up if he moved a little. Although the old turtle in the Camelback mountain range hadn't reached the reaching heaven realm, it wasn't far from it. Sword King Tianyang? What a boastful tone. At this moment, a sword cultivator looked at the screen and a trace of anger appeared on his face. He was the first disciple of the Flying Sword School. Even Yu Jianchen didn't dare to call himself Sword King. What ability did this nobody have to deserve this title? Although this guy was currently the first on the mortal ranking. After I kill this guy, I'll go find Tianyang for a fight. I'll let him know that the title of Sword King isn't something that can be obtained by killing 3 or 4 weak chickens. Yu Jianchen snorted coldly. Then, he killed the magical beast in front of him and took its azurite crystal before rushing off into the distance. Tianyang did not know that he had caused such a huge commotion just because he had given a name. However, even if he knew, he wouldn't care. After all, he was a sword emperor in his previous life. He was just a sword king. Tianyang felt that he was being too modest. Although this squad leader doesn't have a map, he knows quite a bit. Tianyang muttered to himself as he sat on the heaven pagoda and looked at the incomplete map he found in the squad leader's spatial bag. He could see that this incomplete map corresponded to the surrounding wasteland. At the edge of the incomplete map, he could faintly see a mark. It was a mark that looked like a dragon's head. Although it's incomplete, I can still see the mark. In this case, the rest of the map doesn't matter. Tianyang chuckled. His soul force spread out and penetrated the heaven pagoda, radiating out to a radius of 50 miles. Within 50 miles, not a single movement could escape Tianyang's soul force scan. This way, the search would naturally be faster. However, the map was still an incomplete map. Although Tianyang could see some clues, it would still be difficult for him to find it. Just as Tianyang was about to withdraw his soul force, a sharp aura appeared at the edge of his soul force scan and rushed towards them. There's actually someone in this godforsaken place? Tianyang raised his eyebrows and stood up. At this moment, that person had completely entered the range of Tianyang's soul force. Sword manipulation technique. A shout came from that person. In the next moment, the sword on his back suddenly flew up and spiraled out in the air, as if it had a mind of its own. A tyrannical aura also erupted from the flying sword. Roar! Sensing the tyrannical aura behind it, the magical beast that was being chased suddenly changed its expression and roared. Roar, roar! In the next moment, the wings on its back suddenly flapped and its speed increased by a lot. Humph, an ancient species, a hawk-winged dracolic. Such an existence definitely has a lot of azure crystals in its body. Want to run? You'll have to ask if my flying sword agrees. Yu Jianchen laughed loudly. With a thought, the flying sword on his back instantly rushed out and accelerated to a terrifying speed. In the next moment, it directly pierced through the hawk-winged dracolic. Roar! The hawk-winged dracolic screamed. Its heart was pierced and its life force was gradually fading away. At this moment, Yu Jianchen suddenly felt that the sunlight seemed to have suddenly disappeared. He looked up and was immediately dumbfounded. Chapter 592. Looking at the huge heavenly tower, Yu Jianchen was almost scared out of his wit. The current heavenly tower was no longer the broken mid-grade spiritual artifact that Tianyang had obtained from the Sky Wolf Walker in the trial ground. After so many refinements and modifications, Tianyang had already raised the grade of the heavenly tower by many levels. Although it wasn't a high-grade spiritual artifact yet, it wasn't far from it. One had to know that a high-grade spiritual artifact was something used by Heaven Ascension Realm experts. For this huge tower to appear in the Earthly Emperor's small world, it either belonged to one of those youngsters or one of those ancient species. This huge tower looked brand new and bright. It was impossible for it to be in existence from the ancient times. Then, there was only one possibility. This huge tower belonged to a powerful genius, perhaps even a genius from a martial Holy Land. What the f***ck? Yu Jianchen wanted to cry, but no tears came out. He was only chasing a hawk-winged draconic lion. How did he encounter such an existence? There was no order in the earthly emperor's small world. For the sake of a good ranking, there were even situations where people wantonly killed others. This was why Yu Jianchen was so frightened. At this moment, a surprised voice came from the huge tower. Hawk-winged draconic lion? No wonder I didn't see it clearly before. This hawk-winged draconic lion's speed is very fast. You actually killed it. Your strength isn't bad. Hearing this, Yu Jianchen's face sank. He had experienced the hawk-winged draconic lion's speed countless times. It could be said that he had spent the last 2 hours chasing this guy. This kind of speed was only considered fast? He was the head disciple of a first-rate force, the Flying Sword School. His strength was only considered not bad? Sword cultivators all had their pride. Even if the person in front of him was a genius from a martial Holy Land, Yu Jianchen wasn't willing to admit defeat like this. I am the head disciple of the Flying Sword School, Yu Jianchen. May I know which genius is in the tower? Yu Jianchen cupped his fists and said. The flying sword flew back from the hawk-winged draconic lion, dripping with blood as it revolved around Yu Jianchen. With the help of this flying sword, Yu Jianchen was confident that even if the person in front of him was a genius on the level of King Qi Yao, he could still escape. Flying Sword School? I didn't expect the Flying Sword sect to still exist. No wonder you were able to kill this eagle-winged draconic lion. It turns out that you had the help of the flying sword technique. Tianyang chuckled and walked out of the Heaven Pagoda. Seeing Tianyang walk out, Yu Jianchen's heart immediately rose to its peak, but after seeing Tianyang's appearance, he was immediately shocked. Why was he so young? Tianyang was only a little over 17 years old. Compared to these 27 and 37-year-old fellows, he was not even considered a fledgling. In the end, such a young person actually had such a treasure? No. I can't see through his cultivation. At this moment, Yu Jianchen's heart trembled as he looked at Tianyang. He cultivated the sword-controlling technique, so his spiritual strength was extremely powerful. He could even clearly see experts a level higher than him. However, Tianyang's cultivation didn't seem to be very strong. Even when Yu Jianchen pushed his spiritual strength to the limit, he still couldn't see the slightest trace of Tianyang's cultivation. In such a situation, it was either to crush him or to be crushed by him. To be able to move about in the earthly emperor's small world with such a huge pagoda, it was very clear that it was the first type. Yu Jianchen's expression suddenly turned ugly. Previously, he dared to say that he could escape with the sword-controlling technique because his spiritual strength wasn't inferior to others. If this person were to attack, he would be stopped by the spiritual strength in a matter of minutes. Who are you? This eagle-winged draconic lion was my prey, and I killed it. Even if you are strong, you can't just casually snatch other people's things. Yu Jianchen's expression was somewhat ugly as he said this. Hearing this, Tianyang laughed involuntarily. Of course not. I was just a little curious about your methods. Now that I know, there's no need to stay. Tianyang smiled. The martial arts conference had just begun, so to him, ripping off the rich wasn't something he wanted to do right now. After a while, when he had more time to accumulate, those people would have more azure crystals. When that time came, he would go and snatch them. Compared to working himself to death now, the harvest would be much greater. Therefore, even if he saw this eagle-winged draconic lion, Tianyang didn't have any intention of attacking. Then, thank you very much. Hearing this, Yu Jianchen let out a sigh of relief. If the eagle-winged draconic lion that he had painstakingly hunted was really snatched away, he might not even be able to snatch it back. If he couldn't snatch it back, his reputation as the head disciple of the sword-controlling sect would be ruined here. Right. Just when Tianyang was about to return to continue searching for the location of the dragon-shaped mark on the incomplete map, Yu Jianchen suddenly spoke. Tianyang's figure also paused. Do you know the Sword King Tianyang that just appeared? I've been looking for him, but I don't know what he looks like or where he is. If you know, can you tell me? Yu Jianchen asked. Hearing this, Tianyang was stunned. The corner of his mouth curled into a strange smile. Looking for him right in front of him? However, Tianyang didn't immediately speak. Instead, he turned his back to Yu Jianchen and smiled. Sword King Tianyang? I know, but why are you looking for him? He actually knew. Yu Jianchen's eyes lit up and he hurriedly said, You might not be a sword cultivator, so you don't know the importance of the title of Sword King to us sword cultivators. Tianyang is just a nobody, yet he dares to call himself the Sword King and even obtain first place on the mortal ranking. As the head disciple of the sword-controlling sect, I naturally can't sit by and watch him act so presumptuously. It's just that I haven't seen him on the way here, so I'd like to ask you a question. I want to find him and have a duel, Yu Jianchen said loudly. Hearing this, Tianyang's expression became even more strange. His title was really effective in attracting hatred. It hadn't been long, but he'd already attracted the head disciple of a first-rate sect. Duel? Tianyang didn't immediately show it. Instead, he smiled faintly. You haven't even seen his face, yet you're so sure that his reputation is undeserved? Hearing this, Yu Jianchen was stunned. He was speechless. Indeed, he hadn't even seen Tianyang's face. To say such a thing about him was going against the principles of the righteous path. But the title of Sword King isn't something that just anyone can call themselves, Yu Jianchen said. Hearing this, Tianyang chuckled and turned around. The Styx sword suddenly appeared beside him. The instant he saw the Styx sword, Yu Jianchen's pupils shrank. He sucked in a breath of cold air. This black longsword was actually a mid-grade spiritual artifact, an existence close to a high-grade spiritual artifact. Just who was this youth? There was definitely no such person in the Scarlet Flame sect. If you want to know about Tianyang, no problem. Come, let's exchange a few moves. Chapter 593. How many moves? Hearing this, Yu Jianchen was stunned. A trace of doubt appeared in his heart. This youth couldn't be a disciple of some large power, right? He was the eldest disciple of the Flying Sword School, Yu Jianchen. The Flying Sword School's flying sword technique had been cultivated to the third heavenly layer. This kid actually wanted to challenge him? Sir, it's not that I doubt your strength, but swords have no eyes. If you injure me, wouldn't that be bad? Yu Jianchen smiled. Hearing this, Tianyang's eyebrows twitched. It seemed like he was being looked down upon? A bit interesting. Injure? If I'm injured, I'll deal with it myself. If you're injured, you deal with it yourself. Tianyang chuckled. Afterwards, his soul force controlled the Styx River sword and instantly attacked. What? Feeling the terrifying aura of this sword, Yu Jianchen's expression immediately changed. Yu Jianchen didn't feel any true essence in this sword, but this sword it made all the hairs on his body stand on end. He felt an extremely dangerous threat. This kind of feeling was something he hadn't felt even when fighting the eagle-winged Dracolian. Just who was this youth? For a moment, in Yu Jianchen's eyes, Tianyang suddenly changed from an ordinary youth of a large power to a scourge that wanted to devour people. Flying sword technique, sword shadow heart. Yu Jianchen angrily shouted. His surging true essence circulated, and his flying sword suddenly shot out. It split into thousands of sword shadows and ruthlessly attacked the Styx River sword. However, seeing this, Tianyang smiled faintly. You've cultivated to the point where you can control it like an arm? However, controlling it like an arm isn't something you can play with. In the next moment, a light flashed in Tianyang's eyes. The Styx River sword seemed to have grown eyes. It passed through the gaps between the layers of sword shadows. Its speed didn't decrease at all. In fact, it became even faster. Like a fish swimming in water, no obstruction or attack could escape Tianyang's eyes. They couldn't even touch the edge of the Styx River sword. What kind of monster is this? Yu Jianchen roared in his heart. He couldn't believe it. He also recognized this move. It was clearly their flying sword school's specialty, the flying sword technique. However, even his flying sword school's flying sword technique was useless in front of Tianyang's flying sword technique. Yu Jianchen could clearly feel that Tianyang's flying sword technique. However, Tianyang's flying sword technique was much higher than his own. It was as if a sharp blade had fallen into the hands of a martial arts grandmaster. With a swing of the blade, it could take a person's life. One fell into the hands of a 3-year-old child, waving it around wildly. In the end, it could only injure itself. They were clearly in the same realm, but Yu Jianchen felt like he was a 3-year-old child, while Tianyang was a martial arts grandmaster. At this moment, Tianyang's Zhen Yuan exploded. The Styx River sword's speed soared to the extreme. The aura of a third-layer Sea of Soul realm was released. In the next moment, a sharp sword light ruthlessly shot toward Yu Jianchen's head. Seeing that sharp sword light, Yu Jianchen only felt his mind go blank. He was the Grand Flying Sword School's head disciple, the one who wanted to compete with Tianyang for the title of Sword King. Yet, in the flying sword technique that he was so proud of, he lost to a youth who wasn't even 20 years old? F***CK, why didn't you dodge? At this moment, Tianyang's expression changed. He hurriedly controlled the Styx River sword to change its angle. Only then did it brush past Yu Jianchen's head. However, it also swept up Yu Jianchen's hair and cut off a few strands. Did you lose your mind? I clearly slowed down just now. Tianyang was flustered and exasperated. The person in front of him was a spirit king. Although he had just entered, he was still a spirit king. But what kind of IQ was this? He could have dodged the flying sword by twisting his head, but he didn't even dodge? In that instant, Tianyang's heart went bad. At this moment, Yu Jianchen blankly raised his hand and wiped the left side of his face. A bit of blood, just a bit, and it was caused by that sharp sword wind. I didn't die? Yu Jianchen said blankly. Hearing this, Tianyang wanted nothing more than to kick his butt. This brother wanted to die so much, right? I didn't die. However, before Tianyang could kick him, Yu Jianchen suddenly woke up and roared as if he had lost his mind. I didn't die. I didn't die. Yu Jianchen roared, scaring the group of people in the Heaven Yuan Tower into sticking their heads out. Looking at the roaring Yu Jianchen, all of them had the same thought. This person couldn't be an idiot, right? Enough, I'm not a homicidal maniac. Why would I kill you for no reason? Tianyang picked his ear and said. Hearing this, Yu Jianchen woke up and respectfully bowed to Tianyang. Thank you, Senior, for not killing me. Senior's sword controlling technique definitely isn't limited to just this. Yu Jianchen said. Hearing this, Tianyang raised his eyebrows. At least you have some eyesight. Tianyang's finger moved rhythmically and the Styx sword suddenly trembled, splitting into thousands of sword images. Every sword seemed to be real. Even when Yu Jianchen used his soul strength to sense it, he couldn't see anything different. It was as if every sword was real. But in the next moment, the thousands of Styx swords instantly merged into one and soared into the sky. The sword light that seemed to tear the sky apart was so dazzling that Yu Jianchen couldn't open his eyes. But Yu Jianchen could also feel that just the power of this sword was enough to kill him 1,000 times over. This youth was actually so powerful. This is the 5th heavenly layer of sword controlling technique, Heart's Will. Yu Jianchen was completely convinced. In the world of martial Tao, age didn't matter. Only strength mattered. Although there was a difference in age, strength was more important than age. Even if Yu Jianchen's age was several times that of Tianyang's, he still had to respectfully call Tianyang Senior. Most importantly, this senior was completely convinced of his strength. If the other disciples of the Flying Sword sect were to know of this, they would definitely be dumbfounded. In the Flying Sword sect, this senior brother of his had his eyes on the top of his head. Even the elders didn't care about him. But now, he was sincerely calling a youth senior. With senior strength, it's impossible for you to be unknown. Senior, you can go challenge Tianyang and take the position of Sword King, Yu Jianchen said seriously. Hearing this, Tianyang's eyebrows jumped. Was this guy really that stupid, or was he pretending to be stupid? My name is Tianyang, Tianyang said. Hearing this, Yu Jianchen was stunned. He suddenly raised his head. Senior, you can be the Sword King. I'll just eat and drink beside you. Scram. Who's your senior? Tianyang sent Yu Jianchen flying with a kick. In the end, this guy came up again. Big brother. Then you're my big brother. You're the big brother of the entire Flying Sword sect. Scram. Who's your big brother? Chapter 594. In the end, Tianyang had no choice but to let Yu Jianchen, this sticky candy, follow him. Of course, this guy didn't have the privilege of entering the Heaven Origin Tower. In any case, this guy knew the Imperial Sword technique and his level wasn't low. He could keep up with the Heaven Origin Tower's speed. It was just that the northwest wind didn't feel good. Big brother, big brother, big brother, when are you going to practice your Imperial Sword technique? I don't ask for too much. If you practice it 100 times a day, I'll be satisfied. Yu Jianchen called out. Hearing this, Tianyang's eyebrows twitched. He felt that letting this guy follow him was a mistake. If you really want, I can use the Imperial Sword technique to kill you. It's said that in the underworld, you can easily remember the moment before your death. Tianyang said sinisterly. Hearing this, Yu Jianchen immediately shuddered and shut his mouth. He was only 40 years old and was still considered young. For a Spirit King expert, he was extremely young. In terms of talent, he was also a genius of the Central Region. However, there were too many geniuses. Before Yu Jianchen broke through to Spirit King, he was only in the top 50 of the Spirit ranking. Big brother, I really don't think it's possible for you to only be 89th on the Spirit ranking. I think that you can easily kill the Tyrannosaurus King. How about I contact someone to help you find the Tyrannosaurus King? Yu Jianchen said. With Tianyang's strength, even if he couldn't beat him, he would definitely be able to escape. And with Tianyang's Imperial Sword technique being so powerful, he would definitely use it in the battle with the Tyrannosaurus King. At that time, wouldn't he be able to observe it as he wished? You think I'm the same as you? Tianyang rolled his eyes and simply ignored this old scoundrel. However, the more Yu Jianchen talked, the more excited he became. Big brother, where are you going? This wasteland is so desolate that even birds don't shit. You won't be able to see many magical beasts even if you go around. It's easy to drop your ranking like this. Big brother, say something. Controlling this tower doesn't require much concentration. You won't be able to cultivate and die from boredom. Say something, say something. A life that doesn't talk is an imperfect life. A person that doesn't talk is a cripple, so big brother. Shut up. Tianyang finally couldn't take it anymore. This guy, other than being an old scoundrel, he was actually so talkative. If you're so bored that you can't even drink the northwest wind, then use your sword controlling technique to help me find this terrain. Tianyang roared. In the next moment, a streak of light flew out of the tower and landed in Yu Jianchen's hand. With proper business to attend to, Yu Jianchen became much more serious. Looking at the mountains and rivers, as well as the symbol of a dragon's head at the very edge, his expression froze slightly. When I was chasing after the hawk-winged dragon lion, I seemed to have passed by this area. With that, Tianyang's eyes lit up. Really? If I remember correctly, it's true. Moreover, I also felt a trace of a strange aura nearby. That eagle-winged draconic lion seemed to have also felt it, and was so scared that it instantly took a detour. I was a little concerned, so I wrote it down. Yu Jianchen said. Hearing that, Tianyang's expression froze. The hawk-winged draconic lion wasn't a hybrid draconic lion in the hidden dragon ancient land. It was a genuine Asian dragon. The true dragon bloodline in its body wasn't high, but it wasn't low either. Normal dragon aura wouldn't be able to affect the hawk-winged draconic lion. It would even be suppressed. Even Tianyang's true dragon's dragon might not be able to scare him into taking a detour. In other words, that place was where the dragon head was marked on the map. It wasn't a lie. If I'm not wrong, it's probably that place. Yu Jianchen, do you still remember the way? Tianyang said. Hearing that, Yu Jianchen chuckled. Of course I remember. Then, I'll lead the way. Yu Jianchen lightly shouted. The flying sword under his but instantly turned into a streak of light and rushed to the front of the Heaven Origin Tower. Tianyang also drove the Heaven Origin Tower and followed. In the western part of the earthly Emperor's small world, in the vast wasteland. This place was deserted and uninhabited. There weren't even many ancient species here. The forces or rogue cultivators who were teleported here were definitely the ones with the worst luck. In a mountain range in this vast wasteland, there was suddenly an additional team. Finally found it. This is the place. It's not bad. According to the red ink on the map, this is the place marked. It's a pity that the entire map is missing the most crucial part. Otherwise, we would have found it long ago. A tall young man in a black robe said. Hearing that, the black-robed young man beside him revealed a slight smile. A greedy light flashed in his golden vertical pupils that were different from ordinary people's. The earthly Emperor's small world is in the hands of the Scarlet Flame sect. It's a pity that even the Scarlet Flame sect doesn't know the secret of the earthly Emperor's small world. To be able to be called a small world, it has a complete set of laws. To be able to have a complete set of laws, it's either a subsidiary of a large world or it was established by an almighty. No matter which one it is, it's priceless. It's a pity that the Scarlet Flame sect recklessly squandered it. Even the ancient dragon tomb of our dragon clan will be covered in dust for countless years because of them, the black-robed young man said. Hearing that, the others revealed a trace of greed and complacency. Because at this moment, their Black Dragon clan was about to open the ancient dragon tomb. However, Brother Blackblood, it's not only our Black Dragon clan that came to the earthly Emperor's small world this time. There are others. The Scarlet Dragon clan, the Golden Dragon clan, and the Eastern Sea Dragon Palace that came from the sea aren't weak. What if they find their way here? At this moment, the black-robed young man said. Hearing that, the black-robed young man called Blackblood sneered. How is that possible? According to the ancient books in our clan, the incomplete map was lost in the human territory. It's thousands of miles away from the Dragon Clan's territory. Even if they're lucky enough to find it, the possibility of them determining the location as quickly as us is less than 1 in 10,000. Moreover, the Scarlet Dragon clan is weak. The Golden Dragon clan has a grudge with us, but it's about the same. The only threat is the Eastern Sea Dragon Palace. The possibility of them finding the map is even lower than 1 in 10,000. Blackblood said. Hearing that, the other black dragons nodded. What he said made sense. Let's not talk about it anymore. We can already confirm that the ancient dragon tomb is in this mountain range. As long as we enter it, our Black Dragon clan will be able to rise. At that time, it might not be impossible for us to replace the Golden Dragon clan and become the true leader of the Dragon clan. Blackblood laughed. At this moment, a long sword and a huge pagoda suddenly flew over their heads. Brother Blackblood, there's someone. Don't be afraid. They might be passing by. It's impossible for them to know the secret of the ancient dragon tomb. But they're heading in the direction of the ancient dragon tomb. Chapter 595. In the air, Tianyang sat cross-legged in the Heaven Origin Tower. as he sensed the aura around him, his expression gradually turned grave. He originally thought that this dragon head mark was an ordinary item of the dragon race, or perhaps something similar to the true dragon's remains in the nest of 1,000 devils. However, this aura overturned his assumptions. With such a dense dragon death chi, it was no wonder that demonic beasts like the hawk-winged Dracolian would be scared to the point of taking a detour. After all, there was only one possibility for a place with such dragon death chi, and that was the Dragon Tomb. The Dragon Tomb is the tomb of the dragon race. It's also the place where countless dying dragons left their inheritances. However, this dragon death chi can't be sensed by ordinary people. Only the dragon race would be able to sense it, Tianyang muttered to himself. His expression was grave. If this was the Dragon Tomb, then it wouldn't be ordinary. The Dragon Tomb was the tomb of the dragon race. It could be said that apart from the Dragon Palace, the Dragon Tomb was the highest place in the hearts of the dragon race. Although he possessed the true dragon's core and could barely be counted as half a dragon race, it was still impossible for him to enter the Dragon Tomb. However, if no one discovered this place and suspected to be a forgotten dragon tomb, then it would be different. There are many treasures in the Dragon Tomb. It's the amalgamation of countless dragon tombs. Who knows how many treasures there will be in the Dragon Tomb? Tianyang chuckled, but at this moment, a black beam of light suddenly shot out from behind. Huh? The first one to react wasn't Tianyang, but Yu Jianchen, who was leading the way. Sensing this attack, Yu Jianchen's expression immediately sank. He controlled his flying sword and directly attacked. Boom! 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 The black light and the flying sword collided, erupting with waves of energy ripples. Even the space faintly trembled. Afterwards, Yu Jianchen roared. Sword controlling art, flying sword Dao. In the next moment, the flying sword erupted with a resplendent light. Fifth layer Sea of Soul Realm Zhen Yuan erupted. A stream of light shot out, completely shattering the black light. At this moment, Tianyang's figure flashed and he arrived outside the Heaven Origin Tower. Yu Jianchen, what's going on? Tianyang said. Hearing that, Yu Jianchen shook his head. I don't know. That black light suddenly attacked. I was so focused on fighting it that I didn't notice where it came from. Tianyang raised his eyebrows when he heard that. Yu Jianchen cultivated the sword-controlling art, so his spiritual strength was extremely powerful. Under normal circumstances, he would be able to sense some clues if he wasn't paying attention. However, Yu Jianchen truly didn't know that. In other words, his opponent's spiritual strength wasn't weak either. Since Yu Jianchen had no other choice, Tianyang could only take action himself. A resplendent ray of light shot out of his eyes as Tianyang's soul power instantly expanded to cover an area of 50 miles, encompassing almost half of the mountain range. There's Dragon Chi, and it seems to be from the Black Dragon clan. Interesting. It seems like we're not the only ones who have found this dragon tomb. Tianyang chuckled. His gaze locked onto a cave in the south. In the next moment, the Styx sword appeared. Tianyang wielded the Styx sword and used a secret technique to step on air. His figure instantly disappeared from where he stood. Using the extreme speed of a spirit king, he instantly arrived in front of the cave. Are you going to come out yourself, or do you want me to kill my way in? Tianyang stood at the entrance of the cave and said indifferently. The Styx sword in his hand exploded with cold, killing intent. He still remembered the promise he made to Long Haotian. Although Long Haotian wasn't necessarily as powerful as him when he was alive, Tianyang wouldn't forget it. The Black Dragon He Ming who killed Long Haotian was a member of the Black Dragon clan. Now that he had encountered a member of the Black Dragon clan, Tianyang naturally wouldn't give him any face. In the depths of the cave, He Shui's expression was unsightly. He looked at the entrance of the cave, but he didn't dare to act rashly. He still couldn't see through this person's strength, but from the extreme speed just now, he could see that it was very difficult to deal with such strength. As for the middle-aged man who destroyed his black light with a single strike, he was even more extraordinary. Such combat strength was comparable to an existence in the top 20 of the spirit ranking. Damn it. I thought it was just an ordinary team of humans. I never expected there to be two powerful geniuses. He Shui said angrily. He had only made a move to test the strength of Tianyang's group, but he didn't expect Yu Jianchen to react so quickly and destroy his black light. And Tianyang was even more terrifying. In just a short dozen seconds, he had found his location and charged over. He couldn't even escape. Brother He Shui, could it be that we have to go out and wait to be captured? Beside He Shui, a black-clothed youth said angrily, "This bunch of lowly humans. If not for the fact that the Black Dragon Patriarch of the ancient times was afraid of those mysterious powerhouses of the human race, he would have slaughtered all the humans in the central region. But now we are blocked in the cave by two humans," said the black-clothed youth. Hearing that, He Shui's face turned even gloomier as he slapped him. "Shut up. Do you want them to charge in directly?" He Shui said angrily. Hearing that, the black-clothed youth was stunned. At this moment, He Shui said again, "Wait a moment. I'll use a secret technique to charge out and attract their attention. Hurry up and head to the Dragon Necropolis and obtain the opportunities inside. When the time comes, won't these lowly humans still die?" Hearing that, the group of black dragons nodded. At this moment, Tianyang's faint laughter sounded again. "I'll count to 3. If they don't come out, we'll go in. 3. Tianyang chuckled as the Styx River sword in his hand shot out. It shuttled through the darkness, completely ignoring the complex terrain of the cave as it charged towards the black dragons. "What?" Seeing that, He Shui's expression changed drastically. The dragon blood in his body immediately burned. "Remember what I said?" In the next moment, He Shui used a secret technique and charged towards the Styx River sword. Boom! Boom! The Styx River sword and He Shui fought in the cave. Yu Jianchen wanted to help, but he was stopped by Tianyang. "Don't worry. You just have to look after them." Tianyang chuckled. Hearing that, Yu Jianchen was stunned. "Them?" Boom! Before Tianyang could answer, the cave exploded. Several figures hidden in the shattered rocks flew out and quickly flew in a certain direction. "It's them," Tianyang said. Hearing that, Yu Jianchen nodded. He hid his figure and charged out. At this moment, He Shui also charged out of the cave. His eyes were blood-red as he stared at Tianyang. "Lowly human ant. Die for me!" He Shui roared. Tianyang, on the other hand, smiled faintly. Using the Void Step secret technique, he instantly disappeared from where he stood. "Where do you think you're going?" He Shui roared and charged out. 3 minutes later, a stream of light flashed and Tianyang's figure appeared on the spot once again. Legend says that burning dragon blood can turn a dragon into a retard. It's true. To be able to sense Yu Jianchen's aura, not bad. Finally, there's someone who knows the specific location leading the way. Chapter 596. Tianyang was still worrying about how to find the Dragon Necropolis. The most detailed part of the map was this mountain range, and this mountain range stretched for thousands of miles. If he were to search for it, who knew how long it would take? Since a black dragon had come to his doorstep, Tianyang naturally wouldn't let it go. Hence, he came up with this good show. As it turned out, it was a success. Amazing! Really amazing! Big Brother is indeed Big Brother. He's strong and ruthless. Yu Jianchen praised after hearing Tianyang's explanation. However, this praise made Tianyang speechless. "All right, you didn't lose them, right?" Tianyang asked. Yu Jianchen nodded. "No, they didn't discover me either. They're heading straight for a destination. I reckon that's the Dragon Necropolis." "But is there really a Dragon Necropolis here?" Yu Jianchen doubted. The Dragon Necropolis was an illusory existence to the human race like a myth. This earthly emperor small world had existed for countless years and had always been under the control of the Scarlet Flame sect. Could it be that the people of the Scarlet Flame sect were all blind and couldn't see the dragon necropolis? It's extremely difficult to sense the dragon necropolis. Only those with the blood of the dragon clan can sense it. Moreover, if I'm not wrong, there was a barrier here before. It's just that the barrier was broken recently and the dragon necropolis leaked out. That's why it was discovered by the eagle-winged Dracolian. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to find it even with the map, Tianyang said. Yu Jianchen nodded, but he was still doubtful. He could tell that those dragons were black dragons, but was there really a dragon necropolis here? Tianyang could tell that Yu Jianchen was doubtful, but he didn't explain. No matter how much he said, it wasn't as convincing as seeing it with his own eyes. As the black dragon slowed down, Tianyang could sense that the dragon necropolis was getting denser and denser. It made him, a half-baked dragon clan member, feel slightly uncomfortable. The few black dragons in front almost fell down. No. In order to help us, Big Brother Black Blood used a secret technique to attract the enemy's attention. It's very likely that he's already dead. We have to find the treasure in the dragon necropolis and avenge Big Brother Black Blood. Then, we'll return to our clan and make them rise. When that time comes, the Scarlet Dragon Clan, the Golden Dragon Palace, they'll all be trampled under our feet. Even the human clan, they won't be to escape. The dragon necropolis to say to the dragon to the dragon necropolis, a dragon a dragon to the dragon to die to be to die. That was a dragon black dragon to rise. Annihilate the human race? These bugs are really daring. Yu Jianchen smiled faintly. Tianyang's expression remained unchanged. He closed his eyes and released his soul power. Dragon's death chi that covered the sky and earth instantly filled the soul power that he had released. It really is here, Tianyang muttered to himself. At this time, as the black dragons accelerated, a towering and imposing palace towering in the mountains appeared before their eyes. Dragon Necropolis. That's the Dragon Necropolis. The Dragon Necropolis left behind from ancient times. The arrogant black dragon from before jumped out. He looked at the majestic Dragon Necropolis that was built in the same way as ancient times. He was shocked. The Dragon Necropolis, the Dragon Necropolis. Now, it was placed in front of them. Yu Jianchen was also shocked. There really was a Dragon Necropolis in the earthly Emperor Small World. However, Tianyang had said before that it was impossible to sense the Dragon Necropolis unless one was from the Dragon Clan. Tianyang had been so confident before. Charge! The arrogant black dragon roared. He circulated the remaining true yuan in his body and charged towards the Dragon Necropolis. At this moment, the black dragon's expression changed. Heike, this Dragon Necropolis can't. Bang! The arrogant black dragon named Heike crashed into the invisible barrier. He flew back at a speed several times faster than when he came. Blood spurted from his mouth and his face was pale. This Dragon Necropolis actually had a barrier. A bunch of ghosts. They actually set up this thing to torment people. Damn it. Heike flew in the air for a few minutes before finally stopping. His face was pale as he looked at the invisible barrier with hatred and roared. At this moment, Tianyang chuckled. This barrier is probably the Dragon Clan's unique bloodline seal. It can only be opened with dragon blood of sufficient purity. Looking at the appearance of this group of black dragons, I think it's difficult. As expected, after recognizing that the barrier was the famous bloodline seal, the group of people, including the Black Flag who had been sent flying previously, began to test it out. Opening the bloodline seal didn't require any complicated ceremony. It only required a drop of the dragon's blood on the barrier. However, if the purity wasn't enough, it could only be rejected. Now, this group of black dragons had been attacked by the dragon necropolis for so long. If they didn't go in, they would probably die. How? How can it be? Heike looked at the bloodline seal in front of him in disbelief. He roared, "How can it be? My bloodline is the densest among all of us. Even I can't open this seal. Do we need a purebred black dragon or a true dragon to come in?" Heike roared. However, even after hearing this roar, the barrier still didn't move. "We can only wait for Big Brother Black Blood to come back. Otherwise," a black-clothed youth beside him said. Heike was unwilling to do so, but he still walked to the side and rested on the spot. The denser the bloodline of a dragon, the greater the effect of the dragon necropolis. However, this bloodline seal could only be opened by a purebred dragon. These two small arrangements limited the strength and bloodline of those who came in. Heike's strength was sufficient, but his bloodline wasn't. The others' strength and bloodline weren't enough, so they naturally couldn't open the bloodline seal. "But if they can't open it, we can't open it either." Yu Jianchen frowned. At this moment, Tianyang chuckled. He waved his hand and a few rays of light flew out, knocking the group of black dragons unconscious. Then, they arrived at the entrance of the crude hall. Further in was the dragon tomb, the dragon necropolis. However, there was a layer of barrier that separated the inside from the outside. "They can't, but that doesn't mean I can't." Tianyang chuckled. Hearing this, Yu Jianchen was shocked. These black dragons couldn't open the barrier, but Tianyang wanted to open it? Either Tianyang was crazy, or Tianyang really did have the bloodline of a dragon. However, in Yu Jianchen's senses, Tianyang was a pure human. Just as Yu Jianchen was feeling conflicted, Tianyang took a step forward and bit his finger. A drop of blood flew out and landed on the bloodline seal. Rumble! Unlike before, there was no reaction. This time, the bloodline seal opened. Chapter 597. The Dragon Necropolis had opened. Yu Jianchen was shocked. At this moment, Tianyang's eyes narrowed as he looked back into the distance. In the sky, a black dot was rapidly expanding, and a thunderous roar could be heard. "Damned humans! How dare you trick me? Get out of the Dragon Necropolis!" He Shui had returned. He Shui's strength was extraordinary, not much weaker than Yu Jianchen. It would not be easy for Tianyang to kill him, so he had lured him thousands of miles away. Unexpectedly, He Shui had returned in such a short time. Moreover, although he had left the state of dragon blood boil, his eyes were still blood-red. It was not berserk, but more berserk. High-grade Earth-class martial skill, Black Dragon rips the sky. He Shui roared, and the true yuan in his body flowed rapidly. Accompanied by the Black Dragon's power, he punched out. A terrifying aura burst out, and a Black Dragon's shadow condensed instantly. With the majestic dragon's might, it charged towards Tianyang. Seeing this, Tianyang's expression did not change, and the corner of his mouth curled into a smile. "Not bad, but it's a pity that you're too weak." Tianyang chuckled. In the next moment, the true dragon's core in his heart circulated rapidly, and the 108 true dragon tattoos shone in succession. It was as if an endless amount of true dragon's power had burst out. Long Haotian's spiritual sea's dragon power had long been completely refined by Tianyang. Now Tianyang not only had a physical body, but also a true dragon's level. In terms of dragon power, he was not inferior to a true dragon of the same level. Now, dealing with He Shui was naturally easy. Dragon King's divine fist, 10,000 dragons slaughtering gods. Tianyang roared, and the true dragon's power condensed into countless dragons. They roared out and collided with the Black Dragon's shadow. Boom! Just one Dragon Force dragon alone had 1/3 of the Black Dragon Phantom's power, not to mention that there were hundreds and thousands of them attacking at the same time. The Black Dragon rips the sky was destroyed in a breath's time, and the remaining dragons roared and attacked He Shui. This is the East Sea Dragon Palace's Dragon King Divine Fist. and it's the true Dragon King's divine fist, which has been cultivated to the level of 10,000 dragons, slaughtering gods. You. How could a human like you have the Eastern Sea Dragon Palace's heaven-tier martial skill? He Shui said in disbelief. Hearing that, Yu Jianshan's expression froze. He looked at Tianyang in disbelief. Not only did he possess the dragon race's bloodline, but he even knew the Eastern Sea Divine Dragon Palace's heaven-ranked martial technique. It could be said that heaven-rank martial skills were almost extinct. Those who could take out martial skills of this level were all martial Dao Holy Lands or forces close to martial Dao Holy Land. Even the Imperial Sword Sect and the Sun Moon Sect didn't have any heaven-rank martial skills. In the end, Tianyang's punch was actually a heaven-rank martial technique? Or the East Sea Dragon Palace? What does the fact that I'm a human have to do with the martial skills of the East Sea Dragon Palace? Tianyang chuckled. At this time, Tianyang once again condensed Dragon Force, and countless Dragon Force dragons once again attacked. Humph! How could the Dragon King's divine fist displayed by the human clan have such power? The real Dragon King's divine fist is not something that the human clan can display. Peerless Earth-tier martial skill, Black Dragon swallows the sky. He Shui snorted coldly. Black Dragon Force gathered in his hand, and in the next moment, he punched out again. This punch was much stronger than the previous Black Dragon rips the sky. The fist print swept across the space, and even caused the space to fluctuate slightly. As for the majestic Black Dragon Force, it was extremely well restrained in the fist print. Only when the Dragon Force erupted would it burst out. Boom! A deafening sound burst out, and in the next moment, large pieces of space shattered, revealing deep cracks. The world was almost filled with rolling energy ripples. The only trees in the mountain range were destroyed by the aftermath. Only the Dragon Necropolis was safe and sound. As expected of the Black Dragon clan's profound martial skill. This punch is not bad. Tianyang smiled faintly. At this moment, his robes were fluttering in the wind, but his body did not move. The dragon force in his fist was still surging, and there was no sign of injury. However, He Shui was different. In that collision just now, the black dragon devouring the heavens had been thoroughly crushed. Restrain? Burst out? In front of Tianyang, it was just a joke. A light strike from the Dragon King's divine fist had already shattered his fist. Then, with the impact of countless dragons, if it weren't for the fact that Black Blood was the captain of the Black Dragon Squad and had a protective treasure, he would have already died. But now, He Shui spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was full of shock, and he looked at Tianyang in disbelief. This scene was too shocking for him. Damn it! How can the lowly human race have such a powerful genius? He Shui wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said malevolently. Hearing this, Yu Jianshen's face sank and was about to attack. At this moment, the black dragon blood in He Shui's body boiled again. The innate ability of the dragon clan, boiling dragon blood. Black dragon rips the sky, black dragon swallows the sky can't do anything to you. Then, try this move. Half-step heaven-tier martial skill, black dragon roaring sky seal. Black blood roared, and his figure instantly disappeared from the spot. A series of extremely mysterious seals were formed, turning into a huge black dragon seal. In the next moment, the black dragon seal was already in front of Tianyang. Oh no! Seeing this, Yu Jianshen's face changed. With his cultivation, he could naturally sense the surging dragon force from the black dragon roaring sky seal. His heart tightened, and his flying sword automatically flew out. Tianyang smiled faintly and did not move. He did not care at all. Ha ha! How can a martial skill like the black dragon roaring sky seal be used by me so easily? Humans are indeed a bunch of worms on the ground. At this moment, He Shui's crazy laughter sounded. In the next moment, He Shui's figure suddenly rushed into the palace. He entered the dragon necropolis. After He Shui entered the dragon necropolis, the black dragon roaring sky seal collapsed completely. This made Yu Jianchen's face extremely ugly. Damn it! You actually dared to trick us! Yu Jianchen roared. Hearing this, Tianyang smiled faintly. It's not certain who's fooling who. I haven't seen such a diligent guide in a long time. Let's go. Tianyang smiled and walked towards the dragon necropolis with his hands behind his back. Hearing this, Yu Jianchen was stunned. He followed in disbelief. Big brother, you mean? You did it on purpose? Hearing this, Tianyang smiled. So what if I did? So what if I didn't? Chapter 598. As Tianyang entered the dragon necropolis, Yu Jianchen and the others followed suit. In the next moment, Tianyang's group appeared inside the palace. What a powerful dragon death chi! Tianyang frowned slightly as he looked around. The dragon death chi from before could only make people feel a little uncomfortable. Only those half-step sea of soul realm black dragons would be suppressed to such an extent. However, Tianyang was sure that even a first-layer sea of soul realm cultivator would be suppressed by the dragon death chi. That black dragon is gone. Yu Jianchen looked into the distance and said solemnly. Tianyang smiled faintly, so be it. I've already left an imprint on him. Even if he escapes to the ends of the earth, I'll be able to find him. But are you guys alright? Tianyang turned around and looked at the group. Sun Xing forced a smile. Of course, we're fine. Before Sun Xing could finish, he fell to the ground with a plop. If even the stronger Sun Xing was like this, the others were even worse off. Even the two first-layer sea of soul realm cultivators had extremely ugly expressions. They obviously had no battle strength left. The dragon death chi couldn't be sensed by others, but it didn't mean that it couldn't harm people. Previously, they were blocked by the Heaven Tower and the dragon death chi outside wasn't very dense, so they didn't feel it. Now that they were in the dragon necropolis, it naturally flared up. Even Ling Yuhan's face was pale. Her cultivation base was about the same as the two first-layer sea of soul realm cultivators. Although her condition was better than theirs, it was only by a little. Let's enter the Heaven Tower. I didn't think of this. I've miscalculated. Heavenly Sun shook his head and summoned the Heavenly Pagoda, allowing the group of people to enter. Yuhan, you stay inside and take care of them. The deeper we go, the denser the dragon death chi. Don't leave any hidden injuries. Tianyang said. Ling Yuhan smiled bitterly and nodded. She was the last one to enter the Heaven Tower. I'm a burden. It's fine. Tianyang smiled. If it's you, then it's fine. Hearing this, Ling Yuhan smiled, moved, and walked in. Tianyang's expression turned solemn as he formed a seal with both hands. A seal imbued with majestic dragon power shot out and landed on the heavenly Yuan Tower. Immediately, the heavenly origin pagoda was filled with surging dragon energy that blocked the dragon's death aura. Tianyang then opened his spatial bag and casually put it away. With the protection of the spatial bag and dragon force, the dragon death chi, no matter how strong it was, the dragon death chi couldn't enter the tower. Only then did Yu Jianchen speak. Big brother, there's something wrong with the dragon necropolis. The strange aura here is much denser than before. Is this really the dragon necropolis with countless treasures? The dragon necropolis is the tomb of 10,000 dragons. Naturally, there are countless treasures. However, it's a tomb after all. The dragon death chi must be extremely dense. Moreover, if I'm not wrong, this place, Tianyang explained, then looked in front of him. The bones were dense and the shape of a dragon could be vaguely seen. Countless dragon skeletons were lying here and there was a pale white path in the middle. It made one's heart tremble. White bones as the path, 10,000 corpses paving the way. This is the first stage of the dragon necropolis, the 10,000 dragon bone path. Tianyang said. In the next moment, he walked in and stepped on a dragon corpse. Immediately, countless dragon death chi swept over and attacked Tianyang. Yu Jianxin's expression changed. The dragon death chi had already condensed into a black color. Its power was much stronger than before. As expected of the ancient dragon necropolis, the dragon death chi is much stronger than ordinary dragon necropolis. However, this thing can't do anything to me. Tianyang snorted coldly. The heavenly flame of annihilation in his body burned fiercely. The black gold flame swept out and rushed towards the black dragon death chi. Boom! The dragon death chi seemed to have a form and collided with the heavenly flame of annihilation. Countless dragon corpses began to tremble and burst out even stronger dragon death chi. However, how could the heavenly flame of annihilation, as the fusion flame of the annihilation spiritual fire and the heavenly flame of annihilation, be defeated so easily? It was a flame comparable to a rank 5 spiritual fire. Heavenly flame of annihilation, burn! Tianyang snorted coldly. His true yuan circulated, and the majestic heavenly flame of annihilation suddenly burst out. Fire controlling art, spiritual fire dragon. His hands kept forming seals, and the heavenly flame of annihilation also turned into a huge fire dragon and attacked the dragon death chi. Boom, 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 boom. The dragon death chi and the heavenly flame of annihilation collided fiercely. The dragon death chi was constantly being eliminated, but the true yuan in the heavenly flame of annihilation was also gradually being consumed. This dragon's deathly aura was indeed terrifying. Scram! Tianyang roared and circulated the divine desolate heavenly spirit art. Surging true yuan and spiritual force surged out. Roar! The heavenly annihilation flames seemed to have the help of the gods. The fire dragon roared ferociously and directly destroyed the dragon's death aura. In the next moment, the endless heavenly annihilation flames swept up and burned the dragon's death aura. As expected of the ancient dragon tomb. This method is extraordinary. Tianyang chuckled and stepped on the piles of corpses and continued forward. On the side, Yu Jianxin was already dumbfounded. Sword controlling art, rank 5 spiritual fire, ancient fire controlling art, and 3rd level C of soul realm cultivation. Just how strong was this big brother of his? Let's go. Hearing this, Yu Jianxin seemed to wake up from a dream and hurriedly followed. The dragon death chi was burned dry by Tianyang. On the way, there were no obstructions. Tianyang and Yu Jianxin only walked for a few minutes and saw the end of the 10,000 dragon bone path. At this moment, a cold snort came from the side. Dragon death chi. It can't do anything to you. As expected of a genius of the human race, powerful as expected. However, no matter how strong a genius is in the dragon tomb, it's impossible to be a match for my dragon race. The cold snort rumbled like thunder, carrying with it a monstrous anger. In the next moment, He Shui's figure appeared in the air. Tianyang's eyes narrowed slightly. Looking at the crystal in his hand, his expression changed slightly. This is a dragon soul crystal? Tianyang said in surprise. Hearing this, He Shui laughed coldly. At least you have some knowledge. That's right, this is a dragon soul crystal. Hearing this, Tianyang's expression immediately turned ugly. Who knew how many dragon souls were resentful in this dragon tomb? This guy had a dragon soul crystal that could control dragon souls, so, at this moment, you will be buried here. Bone Dragon Army. He Shui roared and the golden dragon soul crystal in his hand shone brightly. Dragon power poured in crazily. In the next moment, bang, 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 bang. Tianyang only felt a tremor under his feet. Then, countless white bones stood up. In their eye sockets, the dragon soul fire without any consciousness burned fiercely. Damn it, forward, back, left, right, down. Tianyang's expression was extremely ugly as he looked at everything around him. Chapter 599. Bone Dragon Army. Looking at the bone dragons surrounding him, Tianyang's expression was extremely unsightly. He didn't think that He Shui would have such a miraculous item like the Dragon Soul Crystal. The Dragon Soul Crystal was refined using the soul of the dragon tribe. It required a powerful dragon tribe bloodline and spiritual energy in order to control it. If one obtained the Dragon Soul Crystal, at the very least, it would greatly increase one's soul power. At the very most, it would be like this. At the right time and place, one could use the Dragon Soul Crystal to control the characteristics of the Dragon Soul and find an army. Big brother, I'm afraid we can't win. Yu Jianxin's teeth were chattering. It wasn't that he was scared, but that the enemy was too strong. These bone dragons were able to be buried in the ancient dragon tomb. Their strength was definitely not weak. Moreover, the fact that their skeletons were preserved so well spoke of the strength of their original owners. In other words, these bone dragons were all experts in ancient times. I'm afraid that the weakest of them was at the first layer of Sea of Soul realm. The strongest few, such as that bone dragon with a golden body, might have the strength of a spirit king, Tianyang said. Hearing this, Yu Jianxin's face turned even paler. Strength of a spirit king? In this pile of bone dragons, there were more than a dozen with a golden body. More than a dozen spirit kings ganging up on him? Did he still want his life? Even if he used the defensive sword technique at full strength, he might not be able to charge out of the range of the bone path. At that time, wouldn't he be ganged up on by the skeletons? Weren't you very arrogant? Now you want to be arrogant? You actually dared to enter the dragon tomb. You're courting death. As for He Shui himself, he stood on the shoulder of the strongest golden bone dragon and laughed wildly. Before, he was oppressed in front of Tianyang and Yu Jianxin. What was the result? How long had it been? He relied on the dragon's soul crystal to counterattack. The flesh and blood of a human genius must be extremely good. Although I don't cultivate a demonic Dao martial skill that devours flesh and blood, I can still eat it. At that time, my strength will definitely advance by leaps and bounds. Oh right, this human kid also has the Dragon King's divine fist. The inheritance of the Dragon Necropolis, the Dragon King Divine Fist. At that time, I, Blackblood, will become the new patriarch of the Dark Dragon Clan and lead the Dark Dragon Clan to rule the world. Blackblood calculated. At this moment, Tianyang took a deep breath and calmed himself down. At that moment, he could be said to have fallen into a desperate situation. Conservatively speaking, there were at least several thousand bone dragons here. He could casually kill several thousand first-level Sea of Soul Realm warriors, but several thousand bone dragons that were at least first-level Sea of Soul Realm were extremely difficult for him to deal with. However, it wasn't as if there was no chance of survival. The core of the Bone Dragon army is the Dragon Soul Crystal in Blackblood's hands. In other words, as long as I obtain the Dragon Soul Crystal, the Bone Dragon army will be useless. Tianyang's eyes shone as he looked at the black blood on the ground. He made a detailed plan in his mind. Beside him, Yu Jianxin took out his flying sword with a resolute expression. If a man dies, his bird will face the sky. If he doesn't die, he will live 1,000 years. Aren't they just a bunch of dregs? I'll fight it out with them. Yu Jianxin roared. In the next moment, he used the controlling sword art and charged at the bone dragon. Roar! Yu Jianxin moved, and so did the bone dragon. These bone dragons only had bones and no Zhenyuan. However, as a member of the dragon race, even if they only had bones, their strength was extremely terrifying. Purring! Yu Jianxin held his flying sword and barely managed to block the attack of a third-level Sea of Soul Realm bone dragon. However, his internal organs were shaken. At this moment, another claw came at him. Damn it! Yu Jianxin was furious. Soul power and Zhenyuan swept out. I don't believe it! These guys that have been dead for millions of years, can they still overturn the heavens? Controlling sword art, sword splitting 10,000 shadows. Yu Jianxin roared. In the next moment, The flying sword in his hand transformed into countless flying sword phantoms and charged at the incoming claw. Bang! Yu Jianchen flew back and spat out a mouthful of blood. His aura was extremely pale. As for the 5th level Sea of Soul Realm Bone Dragon that attacked him, it didn't react at all. F***CK. Are these dragon bones made from high-grade spirit tools? Yu Jianchen couldn't help but curse. At this moment, the other bone dragon also changed direction and punched out. "Big brother! Save me!" Yu Jianchen roared. At this moment, Tianyang had dealt with everything. Sky Firmament Sword Martial Soul's innate talent, devour heaven! Waves of enormous devouring power erupted from Tianyang's body. Tianyang's gaze was also extremely cold. The void sword embryo in his hand shone with an unparalleled radiance. The Nether River Sword's Nether Death Chi was useless against these bone dragons. However, the void sword embryo couldn't be any more suitable. After all, the void sword embryo was a sword embryo that existed above spirit tools. Surging devouring power erupted, and Tianyang's aura rapidly soared. Even the bone dragon attacking Yu Jianchen was stunned at this moment. That soul fire without intelligence began to violently throb, as if it had sensed some fatal threat. Roar! The bone dragon roared. It actually gave up on attacking Yu Jianchen and charged towards Tianyang. At this moment, black blood finally reacted. Looking at the heavenly sun that was devouring the surrounding energy, even the dragon's death aura in the bone dragon's body, his heart was shaken. Just what kind of method did this human youth use? Damn it! Bone dragon army, kill him! The dragon's soul crystal in Black Blood's hand erupted with resplendent light. Hearing this, countless bone dragons let out deep roars and charged towards Tianyang. The bone path of 10,000 dragons and several thousand bone dragons attacked Heavenly Sun together. Shit! Big brother, run! Seeing this, Yu Jianchen's expression changed greatly. He couldn't care about himself anymore and hurriedly used his sword controlling technique to attack. However, Yu Jianchen was still injured. In terms of speed, he couldn't compare to the bone dragons. Die for me! Black Blood roared crazily. At this moment, 5 dragon claws with boundless power that could shatter space charged towards Tianyang. Big brother, retreat! Yu Jianchen roared. At this moment, the devouring power on Tianyang's body abruptly weakened. The boundless spiritual sea was almost filled with the energy he had just absorbed. In the next moment, Tianyang used the divine desolate heaven spirit art to convert all of this energy. Peak of the 3rd level of Sea of Soul Realm. 4th level of Sea of Soul Realm. Peak of the 4th level of Sea of Soul Realm. 5th level of Sea of Soul Realm, Spirit King Realm. Finally, 5th level of Sea of Soul Realm, Peak. With one devouring, his cultivation rose by 3.5 levels. This, Yu Jianchen was dumbfounded. At this moment, Tianyang's eyes also slowly opened. An aura that was strong enough to destroy everything burst out from his body. Want to kill me? An extremely indifferent voice came out of Tianyang's mouth. Hearing this, the soul flames of countless bone dragons began to tremble. Then die. Sky Extreme Sword Arts 4th Sword, Firmament. Tianyang roared and slashed out with the void sword embryo in his hand. One sword, ascending firmament. An extremely terrifying sword light erupted from the void sword embryo, instantly shattering the 5 incoming dragon claws. Even the owners of the dragon claws were killed by the firmament sword. In the next moment, the firmament sword light suddenly accelerated. Bang! Pung 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 pung. The space exploded, and countless bone dragons were smashed into smithereens under this sword. Even the golden bone dragon of the Spirit King realm was no exception. All of them turned into bone powder at the bottom of his feet. Tianyang stood on top of the countless white bones with the void sword embryo in his hand. Killing intent emanated from his body, as if he was a peerless killing god. Seeing this, Yu Jianchen was dumbfounded. Chapter 600. Looking at the scene before him, Black Blood felt chills all over his body, and even his teeth were chattering. He found it hard to understand how, in these few short minutes, Tianyang had transformed from a human youth who could be trampled upon by anyone to an unrivaled killing god who could kill gods and Buddhas who stood in his way. That long sword looked incomplete, but it gave him the feeling that it was not the slightest bit weaker than the long swords in the Dark Dragon clan's treasury. How is this possible? Black Blood muttered to himself. In the next moment, a ruthless aura erupted from his eyes. The dragon's soul crystal in his hand shone with endless light, and in the next moment, he controlled the golden skeletal dragon beneath his feet and charged out. This golden skeletal dragon was countless times stronger than ordinary golden skeletal dragons. It was a golden skeletal dragon with strength at the 7th level of Sea of Soul Realm. Even if Tai Wuji was here, he might not be able to defeat this golden skeletal dragon. After all, if Tianyang was not wrong, this skeletal dragon was the guardian of this dragon necropolis. It was specially refined to guard the dragon necropolis. In terms of physical strength, it might not be weaker than a Heaven Ascension realm expert. Even if it died now, as a skeletal dragon, it still had the strength of a 7th level Sea of Soul realm expert. Even an 8th level Sea of Soul realm expert might not be able to shake the skeleton of a Heaven Ascension realm expert. At present, Tianyang was only at the peak of the 5th level of Sea of Soul realm, the lowest level of Spirit King. Black Blood was naturally confident that he could kill Tianyang. Golden skeletal dragon, kill him! Black Blood roared. In the next moment, black dragon power erupted, and his entire person retreated. The dragon's soul crystal shone brightly, and rays of golden light shot out from the dragon's soul crystal, entering the golden skeletal dragon's body. The soul fire in the golden skeletal dragon's eye sockets also became more vigorous, and its aura strengthened by a lot. He poured all the dragon's soul force from the dragon's soul crystal into this golden skeletal dragon? Tianyang raised his brows, looking at the golden skeletal dragon that had suddenly become more powerful, and chuckled. Tianyang killed a bone dragon as easily as chopping vegetables. Holding the great void sword embryo in his hand, he slowly moved forward. Waves of violent killing intent erupted from his body. To be buried in the dragon necropolis in the chaotic ancient times, at the very least, there must be a certain number of heroes who fought against the demons. However, you managed to control them with the dragon's soul crystal, causing their remnant souls to be unable to rest in peace. Tianyang said coldly. The true Yuan in his body surged out violently. Seeing this, He Shui's face changed drastically, revealing a look of struggle. In the next moment, Black Blood's expression turned ferocious. You, a human, dare to say this to me, a dragon? If these dragons die here, they'll become ordinary bones with no value at all. I'll be the only one left. I made use of them and let them fight, so that they could display all their remaining value. That's the right thing to do. It was I who made their deaths worthwhile. Even if these dragons are still alive, they still have to thank me. He Shui said ferociously. Hearing this, the injured Yu Jianshan's face turned extremely ugly. Bastard! Tianyang's face turned gloomy. He did not expect He Shui to be so shameless. If that's the case, then I won't be polite. I believe that those dragons who opened up the dragon necropolis will not mind that there's a scum in the dragon necropolis after countless years. In the next moment, Tianyang used the dragon roaming 9 heavens steps to kill. Roar! The golden bone dragon, which only had a trace of soul fire left, roared towards the sky. It waved its golden dragon claws and charged towards Tianyang. Humph! Human ant! Go to hell! He Shui snorted coldly. The dragon's soul crystal in his hand shone brightly as he controlled the golden bone dragon to attack. Sky Extreme Sword Technique, Third Sword, Star Burial. Tianyang's face was cold as he slashed out with the great void sword embryo. A sword light as resplendent as a galaxy shot out and heavily bombarded the golden bone dragon's body. Immediately, a deep crack appeared on the heaven-reaching realm skeleton from Tianyang's slash. With just one more slash, this bone would break. What? Seeing this, He Shui's face changed greatly. His eyes were filled with deep shock. How is this possible? A human who relied on some method to reach peak 5th level C of Soul Realm could actually injure the skeleton of a heaven-reaching realm dragon. This kid is definitely a super genius of the human race's great forces. He Shui growled. Then, his gaze towards Tianyang suddenly changed. It was filled with greed, lust, and killing intent. If I devour him, my cultivation will definitely advance countless times. He Shui's eyes burned with the flames of greed. The Dark Dragon Clan was originally a dragon clan that devoured their enemies to advance. The reason why He Ming of the Dark Dragon Clan had plotted to kill Long Haotian was precisely because of this. As a genius of the Golden Dragon Clan, Long Haotian's flesh and blood was definitely a great supplement to the Dark Dragon Clan. And He Ming was also a genius of the Dark Dragon Clan. If he devoured Long Haotian, his strength would definitely advance countless times. Unfortunately, at the last moment, Long Haotian risked his life to escape, and didn't end up being devoured by He Ming. But in the end, his soul power was exhausted, and he died after entrusting his vengeance to Tianyang. The current Tianyang naturally saw through He Ming's thoughts from the way he looked at He Ming. This kind of clan is truly disgusting. Tianyang said indifferently. Looking at the golden bone dragon charging over again, the disgust in his heart grew even stronger. Therefore, there's no need for them to exist in this world. Tianyang snorted coldly. In the next moment, the great void sword embryo in his hand erupted with streams of Shinguang. The half-step heaven-tier martial spirit, sky firmament sword, was released. Apart from devouring other people's martial spirits and using the sky-devouring secret technique, Sky Firmament Sword itself had the effect of increasing the power of sword moves. And at this moment, the 108 True Dragon patterns on Tianyang's True Dragon core released a shocking radiance. Surging dragon power converged, and in the next moment, the True Dragon power erupted. Dragon Sword Divine Ability, True Dragon King Sword. Roar! And at this moment, the 7th level C of Soul Realm Golden Bone Dragon also charged madly towards Tianyang. The terrifying physical strength on its claws was enough to smash a 7th level C of Soul Realm Spirit King into meat paste. Die for me, human bastard! He Shui roared madly, and the dragon's soul crystal in his hand completely erupted. Surging dragon power was released, and the black dragon power covered the entire golden bone dragon's body. The originally extremely powerful Dragon Claw attack became even stronger at this moment. True Dragon King Sword and Sky Extreme Sword Art, 4th Sword Firmament. And Tianyang's eyes shone as he looked at the approaching golden bone dragon, and a trace of a smile appeared in his heart. Peak 5th level C of Soul Realm True Essence within his body instantly erupted. The 109th Nether pattern also released boundless Nether power, which gushed out along with Nether Death Chi. Styx River Sword Art, 5th Style. Chapter 601. River Styx Sword Style, 5th Style, Reincarnation Dao. Tianyang roared. Surging Nether Death Chi and Nether power gushed out, as well as Sky Extreme Sword Arts and True Dragon King Sword. The 3 strongest sword moves were fused into one by Tianyang and executed at the same time. An extremely terrifying might also erupted, sweeping through the entire 10,000 dragon bone path. Even those bone dragons whose soul fire hadn't been completely extinguished trembled a few times after feeling the might and were completely annihilated. How is this possible? Black Blood's face was filled with shock. This human youth was only at the 3rd level of C of Soul Realm. Even now, he was only at the peak of the 5th level of C of Soul Realm. However, How could he execute a sword move that was comparable to an 8th level sea of soul realm? Boundless reincarnation, endless life and death. Tianyang's sword slashed out, and a black and white alternating sword light shot out. And under his feet, the slaughter domain also miraculously transformed into the reincarnation domain. Azura Dao, Reincarnation Dao, Heaven Dao, Human Dao, Demonic Dao, and the last Hell Dao. These were the 6 Daos of Heaven continent, different from other worlds. The last 6 moves of River Stick sword style were based on these 6 Daos. And now, Tianyang executed the 5th style, Reincarnation Dao. Life and Death Reincarnation. Boom, boom, boom. Sword light shot out, causing the entire 10,000 dragon bone path to tremble. Black Blood's expression was extremely unsightly as he frantically activated the dragon's soul crystal. Damn it! Block it for me! Black Blood roared. The Golden Bone Dragon also used its strongest move, fiercely colliding with the Reincarnation Dao. Boom! The entire world seemed to have stopped. The physical strength of Heaven Ascension Realm and the 3 combined swords that were comparable to an 8th level sea of Soul Realm's full power collided. The world shook and the sun and moon lost their light. This is Big Brother's true strength? Yu Jianxin, who was standing to the side, was dumbfounded. He asked himself, what would happen if I was the one facing this attack? Even if he had an exquisite imperial sword technique, a 5th level sea of soul realm cultivation, and the life-saving trump card bestowed by the half-step Heaven Ascension Realm ancestor of the imperial sword sect, it was impossible for him to block this sword move for even a second. This Big Brother, I've decided. Yu Jianchen was overwhelmed with emotions. He had always been arrogant, but in front of Tianyang, a youth who was 20 years younger than him, he was completely convinced. And at this time, the dragon blood within Black Blood's body boiled once more. In a single day, he had used dragon blood boil 3 times in a row. Even Black Blood's complexion was pale, and there were many sequelae. But no matter how many effects, they couldn't compare, it was death. If the golden skeletal dragon couldn't block this sword, then he would die as well. Roar! The Golden Bone Dragon roared. Its soul fire was rapidly consuming its remaining soul power. It revolved its skeletal body and charged at the heavenly sun. As for Tianyang, he was madly injecting his true essence, dragon force, and netherworld force into the sword light. It's a pity that I used to be at least in the reaching heaven state, but after transforming into a bone dragon, my physical strength was greatly reduced, and I was even used by this scum like this. But don't worry, I'll help you transcend immediately. Tianyang sighed softly. In the next moment, the true dragon's dragon core was activated, and a pressure that belonged to a true dragon erupted. The divine dragon blood essence that Tianyang had absorbed into his body but was still unable to refine also released a surging pressure, firmly suppressing the golden skeletal dragon on the spot. In the next moment, sword light erupted. The golden skeletal dragon's body was sliced into 2 by the reincarnation path formed by the 3 swords. The true origin energy surged up and it was completely reduced to ashes. The Golden Bone Dragon had fallen. The Golden Bone Dragon fell, and the dragon's soul crystal shattered along with it. Black Blood's face was pale as he took a few steps back. How is that possible? How could this be? How can a human ant be so strong? Black Blood roared furiously. Upon hearing that, Tianyang smiled faintly. He stepped on the reincarnation realm, and the great void sword embryo in his hand shone brightly. The reincarnation realm was not something that Tianyang had comprehended. It was something that the great void sword embryo, an existence that surpassed spiritual weapons, had absorbed the power of the reincarnation path and formed on its own. However, even so, it was enough to increase the power of the reincarnation path greatly. If not for that, Tianyang would not have been able to crush the body of the Golden Bone Dragon. Nothing is impossible in this world. Since we're already in the depths of the Dragon Necropolis, I don't need you to lead the way. You can go and die now. Tianyang smiled faintly. In the next moment, he executed the Void Step secret skill, and his body instantly disappeared from the spot. Then, a magnificent sword light appeared above Black Blood's head. No! Black Blood roared furiously, and the boiling dragon blood instantly burned. Black Blood looked even more dispirited. However, his speed had increased to an extremely powerful level. Dragon blood burn? This guy doesn't want to live anymore. Even if he survives, this dragon will lose the power of his bloodline and be abandoned by the dragon clan. Tianyang was slightly shocked. Looking at Black Blood, who was desperately trying to avoid his sword light, he smiled in his heart. Although the Void Step secret skill of the Spiritual King realm was still at the 4th heaven of the Void Step secret skill, his speed was much faster than before. Even if Black Blood used the Dragon Blood Burn, Tianyang could still easily catch up with him. Let's go! Tianyang shouted and charged out again. Hearing this, Yu Jianchen seemed to have woken up from a dream. He executed the Imperial Sword technique and charged out with Tianyang. As for Black Blood, he was constantly moving through the complicated dragon necropolis. He stepped on countless dragon corpses and occasionally looked back. However, no matter how long he ran and how far he went, he could see Tianyang's smiling face every time he turned back. Damn it! Black Blood roared in his heart. In the next moment, he suddenly charged into a huge open space. In the middle of the open space, there was a huge pool with a golden liquid flowing. It was constantly fluctuating and waves of dragon power were dissipating into the air. This is the Dragon Transformation Pool. It's the ancient Dragon Transformation Pool. He Shui exclaimed in shock. His heart was filled with wild joy. As long as I enter the Dragon Transformation Pool to cultivate, I can make up for the price of burning my dragon blood. My strength will definitely improve, and I'll be able to kill the people outside. Ancient Dragon Transformation Pool? Then I can't continue playing around. Tianyang, who was far behind, sensed the existence of the ancient Dragon Transformation Pool from the soul imprint on Black Blood's body. His heart trembled slightly. He suddenly increased his speed and arrived at Black Blood's location. At this moment, Black Blood was about to step into the Dragon Transformation Pool. Why are you here? Black Blood looked at Tianyang, who suddenly appeared, and roared in shock. Then, Black Blood looked at the Dragon Transformation Pool not far away. He was filled with anger. Black dragon power gathered in his hand and he charged over. Even if it's destroyed, I won't give it to a lowly human like you. Black Blood roared. At this moment, Tianyang shook his head. I can't be bothered to play with you. Then, explode. Boom! The soul imprint hidden in Black Blood's body instantly exploded. Black Blood's body immediately stiffened on the spot. Then, Tianyang's sword light sliced it into smithereens. Chapter 602. After killing He Shui, Tianyang did not even spare him a glance. Instead, he walked to the side of the Dragon Transformation Pool. Luckily, the Void Step secret technique was powerful enough to allow him to arrive before He Shui destroyed the Dragon Transformation Pool. Otherwise, this precious Dragon Transformation Pool that had been left behind since ancient times would be finished. Although the energy of the Dragon Transformation Pool was still there, it was barely able to maintain a balance. If He Shui had thrown an energy ball at it, the Dragon Transformation Pool would have been destroyed. Luckily, I made it in time. However, it won't be easy to absorb the energy of the Dragon Transformation Pool. Tianyang muttered to himself. Looking at the clear golden Dragon Transformation Pool, he could feel the enormous amount of pure dragon energy within it even without using his soul force. This Dragon Transformation Pool was much more powerful than the Dragon Transformation Pool in the Dragon Hidden Ancient Land. The energy inside is barely able to maintain a balance and not explode. If I go in, although I won't explode, I'll probably be battered to death by the energy of the dragon transformation pool. Tianyang muttered to himself. However, his feet did not stop moving. It was just pain, so what? 10,000 divine flames, endless spiritual seas, which one of them wasn't stronger than now? Tianyang had already stepped into the spiritual sea realm for some time. It had been even longer since he had broken through to the true dragon body. After such a long period of accumulation, Tianyang's physical strength had already reached the limit of the true dragon body. Now there was an ancient dragon transformation pool left behind. Tianyang naturally had to seize this opportunity to cultivate the nine-tempered dragon body and break through to the true dragon body. Earth dragon physique, flood dragon physique, heavenly dragon physique, true dragon physique, divine dragon physique. The divine dragon body was the realm that Crimson Dragon Wu Zun was at when he left this world. The ancestral dragon body and dragon king body were only described in a few words. Obviously, they were just hypotheses. In other words, if Tianyang broke through to the divine dragon body here, he would be an entire realm earlier than Crimson Dragon Wu Zun. Divine dragon body. It just so happens that I have the divine dragon blood essence in my body. Why don't I refine it as well? Tianyang smiled and stepped into the dragon transformation pool. Boom. After Tianyang stepped into the dragon transformation pool, which had been barely balanced, it instantly began to boil. Countless streams of dragon power rushed towards Tianyang's body like blades. Tianyang's expression changed slightly, but he still endured it. It was just the dragon transformation pool. If they could not even pass this obstacle, how could they break through this world? How could they find the truth behind the great destruction and take revenge? 9 refined dragon body rise. Tianyang roared. His surging true essence revolved, and the true dragon core completely erupted. Even the mystical dragon essence blood showed signs of activity. Endless dragon power started to boil at this moment. Breaking through to the divine dragon body is much more complicated than ordinary breakthroughs. The first step is to cleanse the impurities in the body. Pieces of flesh on Tianyang's skin had already burst open, but they were healed by the tyrannical power of the true dragon body. Between healing and destruction, Tianyang's pain became even more intense. Tianyang's expression did not change. He remained calm. Then, I'll use this enormous dragon power to cleanse my body. Tianyang smiled faintly. Then, he closed his eyes and began to cleanse and refine his body. Endless dragon power entered Tianyang's body. Tianyang's expression changed slightly. His entire body, including his internal organs, felt as if they had been cut countless times by small knives. If this kind of pain was inflicted on an ordinary person, it would be enough to kill them. However, Tianyang's expression did not change. He activated the 9 refined dragon body and quickly refined the dragon power that entered his body. 2 hours later, Tianyang's body was unknowingly covered in a layer of black mud. Even his face was no exception. It emitted a disgusting stench. However, Tianyang's expression did not change at all when he noticed the stench. Instead, he was ecstatic. The dragon transformation pool is many times more powerful than the dragon transformation pool of ordinary dragons. I originally thought that I could only cleanse a portion of the impurities. I didn't expect to be able to expel all of them. Tianyang exclaimed in shock. Impurities were hidden in the body and were extremely difficult to expel. Only during a breakthrough could some of them be expelled. However, the amount expelled was extremely small. Tianyang's physical strength was rare in the world. Therefore, the impurities in his body were extremely small and difficult to expel. Even with a miraculous item like the dragon transformation pool, Tianyang did not think that he could expel all of them. He did not expect to actually expel them. Tianyang only felt that his entire body was refreshed. His physical strength seemed to have broken free from the heavy shackles and was extremely powerful. If there were no accidents, Then with his current mortal body strength alone, Tianyang could smash a dragon on the level of blackblood into a pulp with a single punch. This ancient dragon transformation pool is definitely not an ordinary dragon transformation pool. Tianyang's eyes shone. He felt the strong and pure dragon power that was like a vast ocean. He was extremely shocked. Others did not know what a dragon transformation pool of this level represented, but Tianyang knew. This meant that this dragon tomb was very likely to contain a dragon emperor of the Heaven Ascension realm. Earthly Emperor's small world is just a small world. However, it has such a dragon transformation pool and possibly a dragon emperor. This Earthly Emperor's small world is really a big secret, Tianyang muttered to himself. However, whether it was the secret of Earthly Emperor's small world or the Dragon Emperor, it had nothing to do with him at this moment. At this moment, he only wanted to condense the divine dragon body. The impurities have been perfectly removed. Now there is only one step left. Tianyang chuckled. The real dragon elixir in his body erupted with rolling dragon power. The divine dragon blood essence also suddenly burned. Countless amounts of blood essence were separated and integrated into Tianyang's body. Tianyang's body suddenly shook. It was as if a strong force was injected into his body. Flames burned in his eyes. The next moment, he formed a seal. 9 refined dragon body, 5th refinement, divine dragon body. Boom! Tianyang's body suddenly exploded with a loud bang. The dragon power in the surrounding dragon transformation pool was rapidly refined by Tianyang and rapidly strengthened Tianyang's body. Tianyang did not idle around. He refined a portion of the divine dragon blood essence into physical strength and integrated the rest into the real dragon elixir. Roar! After an unknown period of time, a deafening dragon roar erupted from Tianyang's body. A 5-clawed divine dragon appeared behind Tianyang. The divine dragon's shadow appeared. The divine dragon body was formed. In the next moment, Tianyang soared into the sky. The devouring heaven seal erupted and swallowed all the remaining dragon power into the real dragon elixir that had not completely transformed into the divine dragon elixir. At this moment, Tianyang raised his head. The 9 refined dragon body was rapidly operating. Roar! The last drop of divine dragon blood essence integrated into the real dragon elixir. At this moment, the real dragon elixir had completely transformed into the divine dragon elixir. Roar! A terrifying divine dragon roar sounded. The 5-clawed divine dragon's shadow behind Tianyang also drilled into Tianyang's body and integrated into the divine dragon elixir. Divine dragon elixir formed. Divine dragon body formed. Tianyang's lips curled into a smile. He stood in the air. Without the use of true origin or secret techniques, just the strength of his physical body was enough to stand in the void. Finally, he punched out. Chapter 603. Divine Dragon Body Success. When Tianyang saw himself throw out a punch and almost tear down the entire open space, he clearly recognized this point. This open space was built for the dragon transformation pool. Compared to the 10,000 dragon bone path from before, it was much more precious. The degree of sturdiness was naturally countless times stronger. If it were the Tianyang from before, he reckoned that he wouldn't be able to break it even if he was beaten to death. However, the current Tianyang, relying solely on the strength of his physical body, almost shattered the entire dragon transformation pool. Tianyang's strength welcomed a huge leap. Not bad. As expected of the Crimson Dragon Wu Zun's limit before breaking through to the Wu Zun realm. This divine dragon body is more than a level stronger than a true dragon body. Tianyang descended and laughed lightly. Endless power surged within his body. Tianyang even had a feeling that he could fight a spirit king with just the strength of his physical body. Of course, it was only a feeling. Although the current Tianyang's physical body was comparable to a human at the 6th or 7th level of the Sea of Soul realm, His true essence was still far from being able to keep up. However, if he used the heaven-devouring secret technique, it would be more than enough to instantly kill the golden skeletal dragon from before. Long Haotian, it's also time to avenge you. Tianyang laughed lightly, then stepped out of the dragon transformation pool. He Shui was already dead, and the group of black dragons outside was leaderless. They already didn't have much battle strength left. In order to avenge Long Haotian, Tianyang naturally wouldn't hold back. Of course, Tianyang wouldn't only kill that group of weaklings. His true target was the current Black Dragon clan's patriarch, He Ming, and his partner, Long Haotian's former lover, Long Xinyan. Only by killing these two dragons would Long Haotian's great enmity be avenged. However, the most important thing right now is to take a good look at this dragon tomb. Since this dragon tomb might be the tomb of a dragon emperor, then it can't be underestimated. Tianyang smiled faintly. The dragon emperor was a reaching heaven realm dragon. Moreover, he was a reaching heaven realm dragon who could kill a practitioner of the same realm in a head-on battle. To be able to reach the reaching heaven state, one must have endless means. Not only offensive means, defensive means, desperate means, and escape means must be extraordinary. Under such circumstances, even a cultivator at the third or fourth level of the heavenly completion stage would find it extremely difficult to truly kill a cultivator at the second level of the heavenly completion stage, not to mention killing an expert of the same level. Previously, when Tianyang saw the 7th level C of Soul Realm Golden Skeletal Dragon, he had some doubt. How could an ordinary dragon tomb have such a powerful guardian? With the addition of the dragon transformation pool at the back, Tianyang was even more certain of the origin of this dragon tomb. In the tomb of the Dragon Emperor, even if the corpse can't be moved, the burial items are treasures that can shake the entire heaven continent. Tianyang smiled faintly. Then, according to the soul imprint, he searched for Yu Jianshan's whereabouts. Previously, he had been so focused on chasing and breaking through that he had forgotten about Yu Jianshan. Fortunately, the dragon death chi had been drawn out by Tianyang and burned away. Otherwise, with Yu Jianshan's injuries, he might have died. Damn! What's going on? Tianyang was shocked. Looking at Yu Jianshan in front of him, he had a feeling that he couldn't recognize him. Previously, Yu Jianshan had been beaten up by the Bone Dragon army. He had even been affected by the shockwaves of his battle with the Golden Skeletal Dragon. Even if he hadn't died, he would have been heavily injured. And the result? Now, not only was Yu Jianshan alive and kicking, he was also holding a huge golden sword. It was made of pure gold. Mortals wouldn't even be able to pick it up. However, for cultivators it was easy. It was just that it was completely meaningless. Moreover, there was a long sword on Yu Jianshan's back. It looked completely different from the flying sword from before. Tianyang was baffled. Yu Jianshan had been on the brink of death before, but it took him less than 2 hours to condense the divine dragon body. Why did this Yu Jianshan seem like a completely different person? Big brother, you threw me down before. I didn't know where you went, so I started to wander around. Although this dragon necropolis is large, my sword controlling technique has reached a level where I can command it like an extension of my arm. The speed of my search is very fast. I immediately found several treasure rooms. I ate a few pills and refined them. My injuries have mostly healed. Moreover, I still have a lot of things in my spatial pouch. Yu Jianshan laughed. Hearing this, his eyebrows jumped. He was surprised by Yu Jianshan's good luck. Although the Dragon Necropolis was the tomb of 10,000 dragons, and the main purpose of this Dragon Necropolis was to bury the Dragon Emperor, there were countless treasures. However, they weren't easy to find. Looking at Yu Jianshan's appearance, not only did he find them, he even found quite a few. Tianyang could only sigh at Yu Jianshan's great fortune. This was something that couldn't be envied. Right, big brother, these are for you. At this time, Yu Jianchen hurriedly rummaged through his spatial pouch and took out everything inside. Pills, medicinal ingredients, treasures, spiritual tools, precious tools, all kinds of powerful magical beast bones, and a bunch of strange things that Tianyang couldn't identify. However, Tianyang could feel that these strange things weren't weak. Did you dig through the Dragon Emperor's tomb? Tianyang was dumbfounded. Just the things that Yu Jianchen had taken out had already piled up into a small mountain. Moreover, Yu Jianchen wasn't done yet. He was still falling down. Even if the Dragon clan liked to collect wealth, it wasn't something that they could take out so easily. Dragon Emperor's tomb? However, Yu Jianchen caught the main point in Tianyang's words. His expression changed slightly. This Dragon Necropolis is the Dragon Emperor's? To be able to use a Heaven Ascension Realm Puppet Guardian and a powerful ancient dragon transformation pool, the Dragon Emperor is just the foundation. Who knows, it might even be the Dragon Saint or Dragon Emperor, Tianyang said. Hearing this, Yu Jianchen was completely shocked. Dragon Emperor? Dragon Saint? Dragon Emperor? This Dragon Necropolis was in existence of this level? No wonder Black Blood was so crazy. After encountering such a level of opportunity, he would also be crazy. Right, how is that Black Dragon? Yu Jianchen quickly adjusted his state of mind. The Dragon Emperor's tomb wasn't something that a cultivator of his level could touch. Dead. I killed him, Tianyang said casually. Hearing this, Yu Jianchen was stunned for a moment before nodding. He didn't find it strange. After a few minutes, all the treasures in Yu Jianchen's spatial pouch were finally taken out. It's these. It took me a lot of effort to put them in, but the harvest is quite bountiful. Yu Jianchen laughed mischievously. Afterwards, his true yuan surged out and swept up the thousands of treasures in front of Tianyang. Big brother, these things are all yours. Chapter 604. For me? Tianyang was stunned. He looked at Yu Jianchen as if he was looking at an idiot. Is there something wrong with your head? These items were all taken from the Dragon Necropolis treasury. They were all-encompassing, ranging from low-grade treasured weapons and first-grade elixirs to fifth-grade elixirs and middle-grade spirit weapons. There was nothing they did not have. It could be said that these things were worth hundreds of billions of low-grade spiritual stones. They were enough to equip a small sect. If the Flying Sword sect had these things, they would only need one more Heaven Ascension expert to become a holy land of martial arts. It would be much easier than the Sun Moon sect. At that time, as the head disciple of the Flying Sword sect, Yu Jianchen's status would rise. At that time, it would be impossible for him not to make a breakthrough. But now, they were all given to Tianyang? Yu Jianchen's face fell. He said, Yes, I'm giving them to you. Although I found these things, they have nothing to do with me. If it weren't for your map, I might not have come here, let alone found such a huge opportunity like the Dragon Necropolis. If you hadn't interfered in the battle before, I probably would have died to the head of the Bone Dragon long ago. If I don't repay you for saving my life, I'll stab myself to death, Yu Jianchen said with a smile. Yu Jianchen said sincerely. Hearing that, Tianyang was immediately speechless. His hand that was about to retreat also retracted. He could tell that Yu Jianchen was serious. If Tianyang refused, Yu Jianchen might not immediately stab him to death, but he would definitely return these items. Suddenly Tianyang smiled. It was a very happy and clean smile. To a senior disciple of a sect, there was no doubt that Yu Jianchen was an idiot to the point of being ridiculously stupid. What grace of saving one's life! These things were all empty in the world of martial Tao. The only thing that could be trusted was one's own strength. These things could definitely help Yu Jianchen obtain a lot of cultivation opportunities. They could even increase his talent. It could be said that these things worth hundreds of billions of low-grade spiritual stones could push Yu Jianchen to the Heaven Ascension realm. When a sovereign descends, no one dares to disobey. Such a position was something that countless people would strive for. However, Yu Jianchen had directly pushed it out. However, this was also the reason why Tianyang laughed. Ever since his rebirth, he had seen far too many schemes and battles of life and death. People as pure as Yu Jianchen were far too rare. Then I'll accept it. However, if you need anything, you can tell me. Tianyang chuckled and took it back. Then, he looked at the complicated Dragon Necropolis secret tunnel and smiled. Now, since you have given me so many things, I can't accept them for nothing. Go. Let's go rob a tomb. Is this the Dragon Emperor's tomb? You are indeed mighty and domineering. Tianyang released his soul power and easily found the most majestic tomb at the center of the Dragon Necropolis. Just by looking at this tomb from the outside, one could feel the majesty and domineering aura of this tomb. Moreover, in his senses, he could feel waves of dragon energy leaking out from the tomb and being sensed by Tianyang and Yu Jianchen. Yu Jianchen shivered as he looked at the door that hadn't even moved a bit. Just the leakage of energy from the door was already so powerful. What if it was opened? Wouldn't it be able to crush him to death? As for Tianyang, he didn't feel anything. He had the body of a divine dragon. In terms of dragon energy, the Dragon Emperor inside might not even be as strong as him. Yes, it seems like it is the Dragon Emperor. That's right. The Dragon Emperor in this earthly emperor small world is already very powerful. The Dragon Emperor is probably not enough. Tianyang muttered to himself and then walked forward. Seeing this, Yu Jianchen was scared out of his wit. Big brother, what are you doing? You can't throw away your life like this. This is the Dragon Emperor. Just this pressure alone is enough to crush someone to death. Yu Jianchen turned pale with fright. Hearing this, Tianyang smiled faintly and a cold light flashed in his hand. The stick's sword appeared. In the next moment, Tianyang's sword slashed fiercely at the door. Roar! The door didn't move, but two golden bone dragons suddenly rushed out from the stone walls on both sides. Only their soulfire eyes looked at Tianyang and a bloody killing intent was released. Seeing this, Yu Jianchen's expression changed greatly. These two golden bone dragons were not inferior to the golden bone dragons from before. Tianyang was already having a hard time dealing with one golden bone dragon. Now that two of them were added together, it was even stronger than 1 + 1. Big brother! Run! Yu Jianchen roared and used the Imperial Sword technique. A flying sword rushed out and attacked the two golden bone dragons. With his Imperial Sword technique, he could definitely delay them for a few seconds. At that time, with Tianyang's terrifying speed, bringing the two of them out would be no problem. However, Tianyang smiled faintly and casually destroyed Yu Jianchen's Imperial Sword technique. Looking at the golden bone dragon that was dozens of meters long and only had bones, he slashed out with his sword. Sky Extreme Sword Technique. First Sword Technique, Sky Soaring. The power of the first sword was not as strong as the later ones. As Tianyang's strength increased, he used it less and less. But now that he used it, the power was still great. Boom! A terrifying sound rang out. Immediately, a mark was left on the two golden bone dragons' bones. The two golden bone dragons were completely enraged. Trespassers of the Dragon Emperor's tomb, die! The golden bone dragons roared. In the next moment, one of them suddenly attacked. Its golden dragon claw slammed down, wanting to crush Tianyang into meat paste. However, Tianyang smiled faintly. Styx Sword Technique, 5th move, Reincarnation Path. Netherworld Death Chi, Netherworld Force, Styx Sword, and Styx Sword Technique. The four powerful objects from the succession of the undead world merged into one at that instant and unleashed their power. If it was just the Styx Sword Technique, even if it was executed with the Great Void Sword Embryo, it was far inferior to the Styx Sword. Boom! The sword that carried the reincarnation of life and death fiercely collided with the golden bone dragon's claw. The power of life and death rotated continuously and directly destroyed the dragon's claw. Roar! This golden bone dragon's intelligence was clearly much higher than the one from the 1,000 dragon bone path. With a furious roar, the other dragon reacted and charged at Tianyang. The moment the two golden bone dragons appeared, a golden dragon force instantly gushed out and merged with their dragon claws. At this moment, the two dragon claws had the power of a Heaven Ascension realm expert. There's actually dragon force. Tianyang's heart skipped a beat. Then, he felt relieved. How could the Dragon Emperor's tomb be guarded by a golden bone dragon with the physical strength of a 7th layer Sea of Soul realm expert? Clearly, these golden bone dragons could also use dragon force. However, because of Black Blood's idiocy, they couldn't use it. There's actually dragon force. Seeing this scene, Yu Jianchen, who was originally full of confidence, immediately paled. The difference between having dragon force and not having dragon force was like heaven and earth. Without dragon force, even Yu Jianchen could exchange 1 or 2 moves. If they had dragon force, the strength of these two golden bone dragons would definitely explode by more than 1 level. Tianyang was in danger. Sword controlling art, sword splitting 10,000 shadows. Yu Jianchen roared. Sword shadows appeared one after another, ruthlessly attacking the golden bone dragons. Even if the golden bone dragons noticed and killed him, it was still better than Tianyang dying here. However, before the countless sword shadows arrived, the two golden bone dragons suddenly knelt down. The two dragon claws fell to the ground, and the entire dragon made the appearance of a human kneeling before Tianyang. Chapter 605. Bone Dragon. Kneeling. If this scene was told to others, 100 out of 100 people wouldn't believe it. But right now, it was right in front of him. Yu Jianchen only felt that his worldview was about to shatter. What happened to being the guardian of the dragon necropolis? What happened to treating outsiders as enemies and fighting to the death? Why were they kneeling in front of Tianyang like puppies and kittens, not moving at all? Yu Jianchen was beginning to suspect that the golden bone dragon in front of him was a fake. Sure enough, the divine dragon's dragon core is comparable to the true dragon race, which has the densest bloodline of the dragon race. Or perhaps it really is a divine dragon. Under the pressure of the bloodline, these bone dragons with dragon bloodline immediately kneeled. Tianyang chuckled. The divine dragon's dragon core was the core of a divine dragon's body. Moreover, Tianyang's divine dragon's dragon core also contained the divine dragon's blood essence. Just the divine dragon's blood essence alone was enough to suppress an ordinary dragon race. Now with the addition of the divine dragon's dragon core, it was naturally like a fish in water, sweeping everything before it. Alright, these two fellows are no longer a big problem. Tianyang smiled at Yu Jianchen. Hearing this, Yu Jianchen was extremely embarrassed. He didn't know what to do with the sword move he released, but he also didn't know how to take it back. However, Yu Jianchen was also extremely curious about Tianyang's miraculous methods, but he didn't say anything. To be able to make a bone dragon submit, this method must be incomparably powerful. Perhaps even his own brother wouldn't say anything, let alone him. Moreover, if the dragon race knew that the dragon necropolis guardian could kneel to a human, what awaited Tianyang would be endless pursuit. Yu Jianchen was only pure and righteous, but he wasn't stupid. Therefore, he very cleverly chose to keep his mouth shut. Scram to the side. Just as Yu Jianchen walked over, Tianyang frowned and said to the two bone dragons. Hearing this, Yu Jianchen was immediately on tenterhook. These weren't the bone dragons of the myriad dragon bone path without intelligence. These fellows had intelligence and dragon force. If he was angered, there would be another great battle. If a weakling like him got involved in a fight between immortals, he would die. However, to Yu Jianchen's surprise, not only did the two bone dragons not fly into a rage after hearing Tianyang's furious roar, they even ran to another path obediently. In an instant, the entrance to the Dragon Monarch's tomb was wide open. If the Dragon Emperor knew about this, what would he think? Alright, let's go in, Tianyang said. Then, he stretched out his hand. His divine dragon body erupted with extreme strength and easily pushed open the heavy stone door. Then, the scene inside was reflected in the eyes of the two of them. The first to bear the brunt of the attack was the dragon coffin that was 1,000 feet long and made of hard golden wood that faced the door. The suffocating draconic force had erupted from the coffin. Yu Jianchen felt as if his nostrils had been blocked. His body trembled as if he was suffocating. He was only a spirit king. Facing the Dragon Emperor, even if it was the corpse of the ancient Dragon Emperor, it was still difficult for him to raise his head. However, in comparison, Tianyang was much calmer. The divine dragon body was not afraid of the draconic force. Tianyang was even a great emperor in his previous life. It would be strange for him to be in awe. At this moment, just as the two of them took another step into the tomb, the heavy stone door behind them suddenly closed. Boom! A terrifying sound rang out. Yu Jianchen felt a chill from the bottom of his feet to the top of his head. His entire body felt cold. It was over. He had offended the coffin of the emperor. He was going to be buried with the Dragon Emperor who had been dead for who knew how long. However, Tianyang did not care at all. He sized up the coffin and praised, "It's actually the extinct golden dragon wood. That's right, this is the ancient dragon tomb. It's normal to have golden dragon wood here. However, there's so much golden dragon wood here. If they were all made into golden dragon swords, then 10,000 swords would be released at the same time." Tianyang muttered to himself. Hearing this, Yu Jianchen's face turned bitter. "Big brother, you're a real big brother. Can't you have a little sense of danger?" Just now, the door closed without even a breeze. No matter how he thought about it, something was wrong. That's right. This is the good thing about the Dragon Clan. They especially like to collect treasures. They also like to be buried with themselves. Look at this armor. It's close to a high-grade spirit tool. If sold, it would be worth at least 20 billion low-grade spirit stones. Compared to what's here, your stuff is just junk. Tianyang laughed. Hearing this, Yu Jianchen's body stiffened. He did not dare to move. With a sad face, he only begged Tianyang to stop. He could already feel the smell of blood in the surrounding draconic force. Spirit stones? Take it. Pills? Take it. Spirit tools? Take it. Precious tools? Although I don't need to take them all. Tianyang acted as if nothing had happened. He happily opened up his spatial bag and took all the treasures in. It had to be said that the treasures in those vaults were just trash compared to the ones in the Dragon Emperor's tomb. Yu Jianchen had collected who knew how many vaults he had. At most, he had 100 to 200 billion low-grade spirit stones. But Tianyang had not even finished collecting them. He estimated that he had 700 to 800 billion low-grade spirit stones. Although most of them were things that could not be used directly, and the proportion of spirit stones was not large, no matter how small a mosquito was, it was still meat. Moreover, this was a huge dragon. Just the spirit stones alone, Tianyang had more than 10 billion low-grade spirit stones. Reiki had not counted yet, but it should be more than that. And, in this tomb, the treasures placed in the surroundings are usually the worst. The real good stuff is in the coffin. Tianyang collected everything in the surroundings, then stroked his chin and walked to the side of the dragon coffin. At this time, the smell of blood in the surrounding dragon force had reached its peak. Yu Jianchen's face was also pale to the extreme. An undisguised malevolent killing intent erupted from the dragon force. "Human brat, you've gone too far." A thunderous roar came out. Hearing this, Tianyang raised his eyebrows and sneered, "You're really good at enduring. This daddy is about to rip your coffin open before you come out." Hearing this, Yu Jianchen was stunned. So it wasn't that Tianyang did not notice the change in the dragon force, but, from the beginning, he knew of the Dragon Emperor's existence? So, from the beginning, you knew of this emperor? The voice became much softer, but the killing intent in it did not change. Even like this, You still didn't retreat and came to collect this emperor's treasures? As expected of a reptilian race. Greedy and tyrannical, you only know how to seek your own destruction. That voice said. Hearing this, Yu Jianshan's face sank. A reptilian race? The black dragon from before said this, the black blood from before also said this, and this dragon emperor also said this. Raging flames of anger erupted from Yu Jianshan's heart. At this time, Tianyang walked to the side of the dragon coffin. His expression did not change as he stretched out his hands. The divine dragon's core was activated. Boom! The lid of the dragon coffin was opened by Tianyang. Chapter 606. Overturning it. Seeing this, Yu Jianshan was dumbfounded. Tianyang, on the other hand, smiled faintly, not minding it at all. As the heavenly sun lifted the lid of the 1,000-meter-long dragon coffin, an enraged voice exploded. Despicable human! Do you know what you're doing? The dragon emperor roared. His tomb had been invaded by Tianyang and Yu Jianshan, which had already infuriated him. Tianyang had ignored him and continued to collect treasures, challenging his bottom line again and again. And now, Tianyang had actually ignored his dignity as the Dragon Emperor and overturned his coffin. This was intolerable. I'll let you know the price of humiliating an emperor, especially the Dragon Emperor. The Dragon Emperor roared. In the next moment, the endless dragon power in the air exploded. Driven by his killing intent, it turned into an extremely terrifying dragon power storm and swept towards Tianyang. Strands of dragon power were like blades as they revolved in the dragon power storm. Seeing this, Yu Jianshan was completely dumbfounded. That was an emperor. An existence countless times stronger than the Sun-Moon Sect's old ancestor, the Dragon Emperor of ancient times. In the end, Tianyang did not care about his dignity at all and flipped his coffin lid? This was no different from touching a tiger's but, courting death. Despicable human, I'll kill you! The Dragon Emperor roared. In the next moment, the dragon power storm rushed towards Tianyang at an extremely terrifying speed. If this move were to be used, even an expert at the 8th level of Sea of Soul Realm would be directly killed. Hee. At this moment, Tianyang smiled faintly. The divine dragon's dragon core operated, and a dragon's might that was on par with the Dragon Emperor's, or even stronger, erupted. A mere remnant soul wants to use dragon power to deal with me? Aren't you dreaming? Tianyang smiled faintly. In the next moment, the divine dragon's might erupted, and the dragon power storm instantly, boom, exploded. The rolling dragon power scattered in all directions, but it couldn't condense at all. It blew on Tianyang's body like a hurricane, but it had no effect. As for Tianyang, his expression was calm as he felt the dragon force hurricane. Although this hurricane was equally powerful, it was much weaker than the previous dragon force hurricane. Not to mention Tianyang, who had the divine dragon body, even Yu Jianshan would be able to withstand it with ease. How is that possible? Why did this emperor's dragon power suddenly collapse? At this time, the Dragon Emperor was shocked and looked at Tianyang in disbelief. His dragon head, which seemed to still have a trace of vitality, flickered with astonishment. At this moment, Tianyang finally had the time to size up the Dragon Emperor. It was 1,000 feet long and 100 meters wide. Although it was lying in the coffin, its flesh and blood were still there. It looked extremely terrifying. One had to know that the Dragon Emperor had been dead for millions of years, but he still retained his appearance when he was alive. Just a glance at him made them feel as if the Dragon Emperor was looking down at them. Yu Jianshan's heart trembled, and he couldn't help but take a few steps back. How is that possible? Yu Jianshan roared in disbelief. His flying sword flew out automatically. From the ancient times until now, there was still flesh and blood left. What kind of monster was this? However, Tianyang's expression was extremely calm. After the death of a heaven-reaching realm expert, their corpse can last for thousands or even tens of thousands of years. As a member of the Dragon Clan, and a Dragon Emperor at that, it's not hard to understand that his corpse can last for countless years in this golden dragon coffin. Tianyang said indifferently. Hearing this, the Dragon Emperor blinked his eyes and sneered. It seems that you're not just arrogant. Since you can make my dragon power collapse, you must not be an ordinary person. Either your strength far surpasses mine, or you can easily make my dragon power collapse. Either that, or your bloodline is far superior to mine. Otherwise, it's impossible. The Dragon Emperor snorted coldly. Hearing this, Tianyang chuckled, but didn't comment. If I'm not wrong, you have the bloodline of the Divine Dragon. The Dragon Emperor roared. Hearing this, Yu Jianshan's expression changed. Bloodline of the Divine Dragon. Humans only had the bloodline of the human clan, but Tianyang, whether it was his soul or his body, was completely human. Yet, he actually had the bloodline of the Divine Dragon? However, the Dragon Emperor couldn't be wrong. The bloodline seal from before couldn't be wrong either. Could it be that Tianyang was a dragon? Of course, Tianyang wasn't a dragon. In order to cultivate the 9 refined dragon body, he had some of the Dragon Clan's bloodline in his body. However, this bloodline was in the Dragon Core, and had nothing to do with him. Of course, apart from his appearance as a human, Tianyang's physical strength was no weaker than that of the Dragon Clan. It was even stronger. He could also use some of the Dragon Clan's abilities. That was why the Dragon Emperor and Yu Jianshan had the wrong impression. I didn't expect that after hiding in this dragon tomb for so many years, I would actually meet a human with the bloodline of the Divine Dragon. The Dragon Emperor smiled malevolently. Then, his soul power suddenly rushed out and turned into a tall middle-aged man. His eyes flickered with monstrous killing intent as he looked at Tianyang. Now, hand over the bloodline of the Divine Dragon and I can still spare your life. Otherwise, don't blame this emperor for being merciless. The Dragon Emperor laughed loudly as if everything was under his control. Hearing this, Tianyang's brows raised in disdain. A mere remnant soul dares to be so arrogant? If you want my divine dragon bloodline, come and get it yourself. Tianyang laughed disdainfully. Hearing this, the Dragon Emperor's face immediately darkened. Even if he was only a remnant soul now and his strength was less than 10,000th of when he was alive, it wasn't something that this third-layer sea of soul realm cultivator could resist. The current him was roughly at the 8th-layer sea of soul realm. Crushing these 2 brats before him was as easy as pie. You refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Since you insist on courting death, then this emperor can only fulfill your wish. The Dragon Emperor sneered. In the next moment, his body suddenly attacked. Light flickered in his hand as a dragon spear condensed and stabbed towards Yu Jianshan. In his opinion, only the 5th-layer sea of soul realm Yu Jianshan could threaten him. What does this have to do with me? Seeing the incoming dragon spear, Yu Jianshan cursed. His face suddenly turned serious. In the next moment, Zhen Yuan erupted. Imperial Sword Art, activate. Imperial Sword Art, sword splitting 10,000 shadows. Yu Jianshan roared as countless sword shadows shot out towards the Dragon Emperor. At this moment, he had already forgotten that the enemy before him was the Dragon Emperor who made him tremble in fear before. Stubborn resistance. The Dragon Emperor laughed disdainfully. In the next moment, countless strands of dragon power condensed. Tianyang had a way to suppress his dragon power, but Yu Jianshan didn't. The dragon spear in his hand erupted with a dazzling radiance as the image of a huge dragon appeared. In the next moment, the Dragon Emperor roared. 1,000 dragon sky-piercing spear. In the next moment, countless strands of dragon power condensed and fused into the dragon spear. In the next moment, the spear stabbed out. Boom, boom, boom. Countless sword shadows were as weak as paper in front of this huge dragon power. It wasn't just the difference between the Dragon Emperor and the Sea of Soul Realm, but also the difference in martial skills. The Imperial Sword art at the third layer couldn't be compared to the Dragon Emperor's 1,000-dragon sky-piercing spear, which had been tempered countless times. Damn it! Seeing the huge dragon spear about to attack, Yu Jianshan's face changed greatly. At this moment, he suddenly saw the sneering Tianyang beside him. He immediately rejoiced and roared, "Big brother, save me!" At this moment, Tianyang suddenly attacked. Chapter 607. Dragon King's Divine Fist, 10,000 Dragons Slaughtering Gods. Tianyang roared. While the Dragon Emperor was busy attacking Yu Jianshan, Tianyang made his move. If Tianyang was a second too early, the Dragon Emperor might react and defend himself. If Tianyang was a second too late, the Dragon Emperor's dragon spear would pierce through Yu Jianshan's head. Endless draconic force erupted as giant draconic dragons emerged. However, unlike the Dragon Emperor, Tianyang's myriad dragons slaughtering gods did not converge on his fist. Instead, all of them were unleashed. 10,000 dragons slaughtering gods? Hearing this, the Dragon Emperor's expression changed. You actually know this fist? However, I also want to know if the 10,000 dragons piercing spear or the 10,000 dragons slaughtering gods is stronger. The Dragon Emperor roared and threw Yu Jianshan aside. Holding the dragon spear, he attacked. Boom! Countless dragons collided with the 10,000 dragons piercing spear. Tianyang's expression darkened. The Dragon Emperor's move was much stronger than he had imagined. However, this was normal. After all, the Dragon Emperor was an expert from the ancient times. He had fought countless battles. His battle experience was much stronger than those he had fought before. Unfortunately, no matter how rich his battle experience was or how strong his battle instincts were, they were all trash in front of Sword Emperor Tianyang. This 10,000 dragons piercing spear is indeed strong. It seems to be the same as the Dragon King's Divine Fist. In other words, he has the same weakness as the Dragon King's Divine Fist. Tianyang kept attacking the Dragon Emperor with his dragon force. He was observing and analyzing the situation. The main drawback of the Dragon King Divine Fist was that its power was scattered. However, Tianyang's dragon force was very strong, which was why each dragon of the myriad dragons slaughtering gods dragon technique was so powerful. It was able to raise this low-grade heaven-class martial technique to mid-grade or even high-grade heaven class. However, the Dragon Emperor was just a remnant soul. It was impossible for him to have such power. The spear seemed to be condensed, but in fact it did not change. It was scattered. In other words, using one point to break the whole thing. Boom, 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 boom. A series of ear-shattering explosions rang out, and Tianyang's expression turned extremely grave. In the next moment, he spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying. However, the Dragon Emperor didn't have it easy either. His remnant soul was constantly fluctuating, and he was forced to take several steps back, losing a great opportunity to pursue. However, this strength also made Tianyang puzzled. Why was this guy so much stronger than he had expected? Otherwise, he wouldn't have vomited blood. This brat is actually so strong. Not only do you know my weakness, you even know how to deal with it. The Dragon Emperor stared at Tianyang with a solemn expression as killing intent surged in his heart. At this time, Tianyang adjusted his body and stood still in midair. With the strength of the divine dragon body, he did not suffer any injuries in the confrontation just now. Although this Dragon Emperor has powerful battle experience and strength of the 8th level of Sea of Soul Realm, he can't display his full strength because of his soul fragment. Therefore, although I suffered a loss in the confrontation just now, this guy didn't gain any advantage either. Therefore, Tianyang faintly smiled as the martial spirit power in his Sea of Soul trembled rapidly. Sky Firmament Sword, out! As soon as Sky Firmament Sword appeared, the stick sword in Tianyang's hand erupted with a resplendent light. In the next moment, an extremely terrifying devouring power also erupted. Martial Spirit Talent, sky-devouring secret technique. It was exactly the same as before. Everything in the surroundings, including the stones and the air, had their energy extracted by Tianyang. Even the 1,000-meter-long dragon corpse was the same. Endless dragon power gushed out of the Dragon Emperor's corpse and was absorbed by Tianyang. Tianyang's strength also began to improve crazily. Previously, Tianyang could break through from the 3rd level of Sea of Soul realm to the peak of the 5th level by using the sky-devouring secret technique. And now, he had the 1,000-meter-long dragon corpse as a huge energy source, as well as the divine dragon body's endurance. The speed at which Heavenly Sun's cultivation soared was even faster than before. Peak of the 3rd level of Sea of Soul realm. 4th level of Sea of Soul realm. Peak of the 4th level of Sea of Soul realm. 5th level of Sea of Soul realm. Peak of the 5th level of Sea of Soul realm. 6th level of Sea of Soul realm. Sensing the sudden increase in Tianyang's aura, not only the Dragon Emperor, but even Yu Jianchen was dumbfounded. He was only at the peak of the 5th level of Sea of Soul realm before. How could he be so strong now? The gap between the peak of the 5th and 6th level of Sea of Soul realm was as wide as a chasm. However, to Tianyang, the only difference between the two was the amount of energy. Otherwise, it wouldn't be so easy to break through. You brat, I didn't expect you to have such a powerful secret technique. The Dragon Emperor's face was gloomy, and an undisguised killing intent flashed through his eyes. In the next moment, he took a step forward with his dragon spear, shattering the space. 9 Revolution Heavenly Dragon Arts, Battle Dragon roars to the sky. The Dragon Emperor roared, and the dragon spear in his hand erupted with a dazzling radiance as he attacked again. Hearing the Dragon Emperor's roar, Tianyang suddenly reacted. No wonder the Dragon Emperor was so strong. It turned out that this guy was from the ancient era and knew cultivation methods. Compared to those with martial spirits but no cultivation methods, he was much stronger. Not bad, not bad. I finally met someone with cultivation methods. Divine Desolate Sky Spirit Art, come out! Tianyang laughed heartily. The Styx River sword in his hand was replaced by the Great Void Sword Embryo, and he attacked. At this moment, his battle intent was raging. Sky Extreme Sword Arts, 4th Sword, Firmament. Tianyang slashed out, and the Great Void Sword Embryo erupted with a dazzling radiance, fiercely colliding with the Dragon Emperor's battle dragon roaring to the heavens. Bang! The two figures suddenly stopped. Tianyang's expression didn't change, and the corner of his mouth carried a light smile. However, the Dragon Emperor's expression changed slightly, and he looked at Tianyang in disbelief. This brat, how did he suddenly become so strong? Battle dragon roaring to the heavens. The Dragon Emperor attacked again, and a dragon roar rang out, its might shaking the heavens. Tianyang wasn't afraid, and the Great Void Sword Embryo in his hand slashed out a dazzling sword light. Bang bang bang! The Dragon Emperor was directly sent flying by Tianyang. The Great Void Sword Embryo had been through battle and tempering, and it was almost a high-grade spirit artifact. In addition, Tianyang didn't just use Firmament earlier. The Level 5 Spirit Fire Annihilation, Heavenly Fire, had been assisting. Bang! The Dragon Emperor spat out a mouthful of blood, and heavily crashed into the tomb's wall. The dragon's spear in his hand flickered, and it was obvious that the Dragon Emperor had been in this confrontation. Defeated? Yu Jianchen looked at Tianyang in shock. His big brother seemed to be too awesome. The dignified Dragon Emperor of the ancient era had been defeated by Tianyang. Ha ha! As expected of the human race's genius of this era, no wonder you could find this place. At this moment, the Dragon Emperor suddenly laughed and flew out from the wall. The vertical pupils of the Dragon Emperor were suddenly surrounded by demonic chi. Chapter 608. Demon King. Enlai. Hearing those two words, Yu Jianchen's face turned extremely pale. Tianyang also laughed loudly and landed on the ground. I knew there was something fishy about this guy. I didn't expect it to be true. It's just robbing a tomb, yet a demon king-level existence has been lured out. What a joke. Tianyang held the great void sword embryo and laughed loudly. Hearing that, Enlai, who had turned into the Dragon Emperor, stared at Tianyang angrily. You said you saw through it long ago? A Dragon Emperor who has been dead for millions of years, who even built the Dragon Necropolis, suddenly jumped out alive and kicking. Who would believe that? Tianyang chuckled. Hearing that, Enlai's face suddenly changed. He only knew that he had to lure these two people, and then possess one of them to get out of the Dragon Necropolis and return to Heaven Continent to do evil. He didn't expect that there would be such a big flaw in his plan from the beginning. However, in the next moment, Enlai's face recovered and he smiled ferociously. So what if I saw through it long ago? Now you still have to die. In the next moment, Enlai's body suddenly changed. The outer shell of the Dragon Emperor collapsed and fell to the ground in pieces. Enlai's huge black body was also exposed to Tianyang and Yu Jianshan's sight. It wasn't very ugly, but it was extremely ferocious. His height was almost 10 feet. If he showed his true form, he would be more than 100 times bigger. His body was also 7 feet wide. His body was like an iron tower. His muscles looked as hard as obsidian. His face was human, but his skin was black and red. On his head, there was a long spiral horn like a bull's horn. His appearance and the demonic aura surrounding him were enough to prove that this so-called Dragon Emperor was a demon king in disguise. I originally wanted you to willingly offer your bodies, but I didn't expect that you would attack without saying a word. You wasted my efforts. However, it doesn't matter. I can still take over your body now. Enlai laughed loudly. In the next moment, he stomped on the ground and charged forward. The berserk demons have spiral horns on their heads and bodies like iron towers. Their physical strength is great and their demonic chi is extraordinary. They are only a few levels below the sky demons. I didn't expect that there would be a devil king from the berserk devil tribe in the earthly emperor's small world. Tianyang chuckled. Hearing this, Enlai was stunned for a moment before he let out a hideous laugh. Looks like you do have some understanding of my otherworld's celestial devil clan. However, it is precisely because you understand it too well that you must die. Devil crushes the heavens and earth. Enlai roared as peak level 8C of Soul Realm soul power exploded out. After removing the disguise, Enlai's strength had become even more powerful. However, Tianyang was not afraid at all. Stepping on the slaughter domain, the great void sword embryo in his hand emitted layers of bloody light. Styx River Swordsmanship, the fourth move, Way of Azura. Boom. The blood-red Azura sword light ruthlessly collided with Enlai's fist. This time, space exploded and the world shook. Even this dragon monarch tomb couldn't withstand the two's battle and started to shake and crumble. Puff! Tianyang spat out a mouthful of blood as his body was sent flying. However, the Azura sword light had left a deep wound on Enlai's chest, so deep that his bones could be seen. You actually injured me? Seeing this, Enlai was stunned for a moment before he sneered and operated his demonic chi to repair the wound. Unfortunately, even if you injure me, you still have to die. Third level C of Soul Realm with such strength and means, you must be a heaven's pride of the human race. If I were to possess you, then with my Devil King Enlai's strength, I would be able to easily rise up and rule the entire Tianshao great world. At that time, the first to be destroyed would be the human race. Enlai laughed heartily. Hearing this, Tianyang flew up and sneered, Destroy the human race? You'll have to ask whether I agree or not. In the next moment, Tianyang took a step forward and used the void treading secret art. His figure instantly disappeared from where he stood. On the great void sword embryo, black and white light burst out. Styx River Swordsmanship, the fifth move, Way of Reincarnation. Child's Play. Enlai laughed heartily and punched out. The terrifying power exclusive to mad demons erupted and swallowed Tianyang's way of reincarnation in an instant. However, seeing this, Tianyang smiled faintly. How could the way of reincarnation's life and death force be known by this mad demon? Melt, destroy. Tianyang roared and Zhen Yuan erupted. Boundless life and death force circulated and corroded Enlai's fist directly. What? Seeing this, Enlai's expression changed greatly. He looked at his disappearing fist in disbelief. It was merely a third-level C of Soul Realm human, and one who relied on a secret art to reach the 6th level. He actually destroyed his fist, which had the battle strength of a peak 8th level C of Soul Realm. Damned guy! Die for me! Enlai was enraged. He was thoroughly enraged. As the Devil King of the Sky Demons, in terms of strength, he was stronger than the Dragon Emperor. In the end, his fist was destroyed by Tianyang, this unbelievably young human. Dominating the mountains and rivers, Enlai roared and punched out. The space shook and the demonic chi fist shot out, ruthlessly attacking Tianyang. Seeing this, Tianyang's expression changed slightly. The Zhen Yuan in his body erupted rapidly, and the Divine Dragon's dragon power condensed on the Great Void Sword embryo in his hand. The Dragon Sword Theurgy could only be used after mastering the dragon power for a certain period of time. The Earth Dragon King Sword, Flood Dragon King Sword, Sky Dragon King Sword, and True Dragon King Sword were all like this. However, Tianyang had no other choice at this moment. He couldn't use the Great Void Emperor Fist, and Nether Spirit's Wrath was even more useless. Even if a Heaven Ascension Realm Devil King's soul was crippled, it was impossible for him to kill it in one move. At that time, Enlai might even seize the opportunity to kill him. Therefore, on the Divine Dragon's Dragon Core, the 108 dragon patterns that had already transformed into Divine Dragon patterns erupted. The terrifying Divine Dragon's dragon power circulated and condensed on the Great Void Sword embryo. I almost forgot that you still have the Divine Dragon's bloodline. When I take over your body, my strength will definitely increase greatly. Who knows, I might even be able to become the Demon Emperor. Enlai chuckled. In the next moment, the fist print expanded rapidly and charged toward Tianyang at an even faster speed. Dragon Sword Theurgy, Divine Dragon King Sword. Tianyang gritted his teeth and forcibly controlled the Divine Dragon's dragon power that he had yet to fully control, condensing it on the Great Void Sword embryo. Boom! The Great Void Sword embryo suddenly emitted a sword light that was tens of thousands of feet long. The Divine Dragon's dragon power converged, forming the appearance of the Divine Dragon King Sword. And an imposing aura that could surpass heaven and earth also erupted from Tianyang's body. Today, I'll use you as a sacrifice to break through the Divine Dragon body. Tianyang laughed loudly, and the Divine Dragon King's sword in his hand erupted with tens of thousands of feet of light. Seeing this, Enlai's expression changed greatly. Sea of Soul Realm. 7th level. At this critical moment, Tianyang broke through. From the 3rd level of the Sea of Soul Realm to the 4th level of the Sea of Soul Realm. Therefore, the cultivation brought by the heaven-devouring secret art also forcibly reached the 7th level of the Sea of Soul Realm. Enlai panicked. For the first time, he felt the danger of death. Damn it! I don't believe that a human brat can really kill me, Demon King Enlai. Enlai roared loudly. In the next moment, the mad demon body was released. Enlai's face immediately turned sinister, and his eyes were blood-red. Berserk! Mad demon dominates the sky. Seeing this, Tianyang smiled indifferently and slashed out with the Divine Dragon King Sword. Chapter 609. Boom! 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 Two terrifying attacks collided. The entire Dragon Emperor tomb collapsed. Yu Jianxin's expression changed greatly as he hastily soared into the sky. At this moment, the two golden bone dragons outside the door suddenly charged in. F***CK. Seeing these two golden bone dragons, Yu Jianquan's expression changed greatly. Tianyang was already having a hard time dealing with Yin Lai. If these two golden bone dragons interfered as well, wouldn't he be finished? However, before Yu Jianquan could do anything to stop these two golden bone dragons, they saw Demon King Yin Lai and Tianyang in the midst of a fierce battle. His empty eyes burned with raging flames of anger. Demon race, die! A hoarse and severely distorted voice came out from the golden bone dragon's mouths. In the next instant, the two golden bone dragons charged over. Damn it! This Yin Lai is too strong. When he was alive, he was probably not much weaker than the Demon Emperor. Tianyang controlled the Void Sword embryo to crazily meet Mad Demon Tyrant's attacks. However, Yin Lai was a Demon King after all. How could he be so easily dealt with? Even if Tianyang's strength had reached the 7th layer of Sea of Soul Realm, Yin Lai had also reached the 9th layer of Sea of Soul Realm. He was only a step away from the Heaven Ascension Realm. Thus, not only was Tianyang unable to close the gap in cultivation, he was instead being pulled apart by Yin Lai. This demon race brat wants to maintain his 9th layer of Sea of Soul Realm state. He'll definitely consume a lot of energy. As long as he can delay for a few more minutes, he'll exhaust himself to death. But now, it won't be so easy to delay him. Tianyang's expression was unsightly. He repeatedly waved the Void Sword embryo in his hand, blocking Mad Demon Tyrant's attacks. He also casually attacked a few times. However, Yin Lai was not to be trifled with. He easily repelled Tianyang's attacks. The gap between the 9th and 7th layers of Sea of Soul Realm was even greater than the gap between the peak of 8th and 6th layers of Sea of Soul Realm. Haha. I originally planned to kill you without suffering any injuries, but now I have no choice but to sacrifice my demon soul. Fortunately, as long as I possess you and cultivate bitterly for a few hundred years, I'll still be able to become the Demon Emperor and occupy the Tianshao Great World. Yin Lai laughed heartily. In the next moment, a strange light flashed, Yin Lai's body once again. Mad Demon Tyrant attacked once again. Boom. Tianyang's firmament sword couldn't hold on any longer and collapsed. Even the wall of fire formed by the annihilation heavenly flames was easily shattered. Tianyang himself was sent flying by this punch. Tianyang spat out a mouthful of blood and his face turned pale. Streams of blood flowed down the great Void Sword embryo in his hand. This Yin Lai was too. He was ruthlessness to others, to himself. Devils. Demon soul, devils, devil. Demon soul. The body's the realm's demon's body. However, at this moment, he had forcefully unleashed it. Tianyang had also encountered the greatest crisis of his life. Ha. Although I don't know your name, I don't need to know. Seeing Tianyang spurt blood and his aura weaken, Yin Lai laughed heartily. He descended and walked in front of Tianyang. Looking at Tianyang's body, a trace of greed emerged on Yin Lai's face. Not bad. The body of a human genius is indeed wonderful. If I can control this body, I'll definitely be able to break through the Demon Emperor. At that time, I'll accept my short life. Yin Lai laughed heartily. Breaking through the Demon Emperor would definitely increase his lifespan. Short life? No matter how short it was, it could be made up for. As for Tianyang, his eyes were blood-red as he looked at Yin Lai with incomparable fury. In his soul ocean, the second 10,000 swords returned to origin stirred. If he really couldn't handle it, he would explode. With Shentian Wuzuan's strength, he could definitely easily put Yin Lai to death. Things might change if we delay. I won't waste words. Now die for me. Yin Lai looked at Tianyang's furious gaze and his heart trembled. Demonic light gathered in his hand, and he was just about to attack Tianyang when a hoarse roar came from the side. Demon die! At this moment, 2 golden bone dragons rushed over, the soul flames in their eyes burning fiercely as they attacked Enlai. Golden dragon claws smashed towards Enlai. The physical strength of a 7th level sea of Soul Realm completely erupted. Where did this beast come from? Enlai was furious. The demonic light that originally wanted to kill Tianyang changed direction and fiercely bombarded the golden bone dragon's body. Bang! The golden bone dragon's chest directly caved in, but its pair of dragon claws still firmly grasped Enlai's arm. The other golden bone dragon also rushed over. Demon die! The golden bone dragon roared. In its soulfire without intelligence, there was only one belief: destroy the demon in front of it. Courting death. Enlai was thoroughly enraged. He didn't care about Tianyang and directly punched out, sending one of the golden bone dragons flying. In the next moment, 9th level Sea of Soul Realm demonic chi was released, sending another flying. Demon die! Even if it was sent flying and its bones were scattered, the golden bone dragon still flew back, its pair of dragon claws fiercely slapping Enlai's body. In their settings, killing demons was number 1, and guarding the dragon necropolis was number 2. You want to die? I'll fulfill your wish. Enlai was furious. At this moment, the golden bone dragon's body suddenly fluctuated unsteadily, and a trace of a smile actually appeared on its skeletal head. Its soulfire had already burned to the limit. In the next moment, the golden bone dragon's entire body suddenly exploded. Demon die! Bang! A resplendent light flashed, and the golden bone dragon turned into a ball of light, exploding. Tianyang was dumbfounded, and so was Yu Jianchen. The golden bone dragon was merely created by humans, but because of the demon in front of it, it paid with its own life. Could it be that in ancient times, these golden bone dragons also came to resist the demon race, but because the Dragon Emperor had fallen, they were here? Or could it be that they knew that Enlai was inside the Dragon Emperor's body, so they let the golden bone dragons guard this place? Tianyang was shaken, and tears streamed down Yu Jianchen's face. Even if the golden bone dragon didn't have life, they were still moved. Damned beast! Enlai suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. The self-destruction of a 7th level Sea of Soul Realm also had a considerable effect on him. At this moment, another pair of dragon claws also landed on his body. Demon die! Bang! Another golden bone dragon self-destructed. Enlai's body was completely confined in place, and blood wildly spurted out from his mouth. Seeing this scene, Tianyang's eyes were filled with tears, but he still grasped the opportunity. The golden bone dragon wouldn't die in vain. Now! Tianyang's face was malevolent as he roared. Who cared about the weakness? Who cared about the backlash? Right now, Tianyang only wanted to kill Enlai, this beast. Tianji Sword Emperor's Soul, open! Sky Extreme Sword Arts, 4th Sword, Firmament. Beast die for your father. Tianyang's face was malevolent as he brandished his sword like a madman. With a stab, the firmament was destroyed. Enlai clearly didn't expect Tianyang to erupt with such power at this moment. He raised his head in disbelief, but at this moment, Tianyang's sword had already pierced through his forehead. That incomparably sharp sword light had also shredded his devil soul.